everybody, and welcome back to the Fall Collegiate Hearthstone Championships. I'm TJ, joined by the Admiral, that's Admirable, and we're back for day number 2. How you feeling, man?
Feeling pretty good. Yesterday was a really entertaining day. We saw a lot of matches go back and forth. We saw some of them just get blown out. We saw those ones that were kind of in the middle where it was a decisive win overall to take it. It's always a pleasure for me casting TESPA. You know, this is where you and I kind of got our start casting together. And it's always a pleasure to be back. But you know what, TJ? How are you doing, TJ? Rarely does anyone get to ask you that question on broadcast.
It's getting to the point now where it's not rare, because you ask me all the time stating that it's rare.
Well, the grand scheme of things.
But I'm doing great. Thanks, that's Admirable. But before we get into the whole mumbo-jumbo of me and Admirable talking about Hearthstone, let's go over the format for the Collegiate Championships. Currently, we're in the middle of the regular season where teams are split into 4 regions, north, south, east, and west, and they're competing in this 7 rounds of Swiss. Any team that finishes 5-2 or better in these Swiss rounds will qualify to the next regional Swiss. And then from there, they'll play in another series of Swiss rounds to qualify to the regional playoffs, and the top teams will compete at the end of it all in the National Championship. That's Admiral.
That's right, top 4 teams. 1 from each region are the only ones that can compete in that one. And it's always a blast to watch that. You know, approximately 850 teams compete in this tournament, you know, nationwide. And so it's pretty cool to see the top 4 teams make it there. There's a lot of battling to go on if you're going to be at that top 4 cut.
Yeah, some of the bigger schools have, you know, multiple teams that compete in it. We don't limit it to just 1 team per school. And I'd like to see some of the smaller schools with new Hearthstone scenes, new esports scenes, you know, taking that trek into the world of esports. But, of course, we'll be playing Conquest. Each team submits decks with 4 unique classes at the beginning of each match. They'll ban a class away from their opponent and then continue to play a best-of-5 series with their remaining 3 decks, where you have to win once with each of your decks in order to win the series. We love Conquest.
I kind of do, especially right now.
It just feels like home, you know? We watch it so much, we get so used to it that it's like being home.
It's like ordering soup at a deli.
That's exactly right. But you can take a look at what these players are fighting for. First place, $3,500 in scholarships per player on the team. So good chunk of cash to help with their schooling. Keep in mind, these guys just have to log in and play a match of Hearthstone each week against a school with a similar record as them in the Swiss standings.
And then win those matches.
To
increase their standing.
And then move on to the next Swiss rounds, and then the regional playoffs, and then the national championship, and then we pay them.
Bada bing, bada boom.
Bada bing, bada boom. That's right. But let's take a look at what we'll be seeing today for the schedule. Yesterday we were in the south and the west regions. Had some good action-packed games, had a good diversity of decks, and in series with a 3-2, which was like a 2-hour-long best-of-5, and then we followed that up with like a 30-minute best-of-5 with Reed and Stanford. But today we'll head over to the east and the north. We'll have Syracuse versus Penn State, Toronto versus Queen's University, and Moorhead versus Robert Morris to cap it all off here for week number 5 at the Collegiate Hearthstone Championships.
Yeah, every single week you're going to be seeing all 4 regions compete, and it's going to pretty much maintain the exact same schedule where you're going to be seeing 2 regions on one and then 2 regions on the next day. So if you're looking forward to seeing your school compete, just keep an eye out for it. And I'm certain there's ways you can find it out there, you know, perhaps on like, you know, like a Twitter or a Facebook or what have you.
Yeah, or compete.tespa.org. That's a good way to get involved.
Perfect.
And of course, we wouldn't be here without our incredible sponsor, Aces Republic of Gamers. They've been great along the way, allowing us to bring you guys this exceptional broadcast of the peak performance of collegiate e-athletes.
Yeah, it mostly just enables TJ to Google random facts as he thinks of them, and he's like, that would be funny if I knew what it was, so let me go ahead and Google that real quick and figure out what it is.
It's actually amazing, because yesterday I was able to look up all the neutral demons in the game, which was something that I'm not able to do on many broadcasts, something that they don't allow me to do. So got my good old trusty Aces Republic of Gamers laptop. But let us know how you guys are feeling about the broadcast today, about the matches. Hit us up on Facebook.com/Team TESPA, or on Twitter. You can tweet at us at Team TESPA. And keep in mind, as we did yesterday, we will be taking some questions from social media. So if you do want to ask me and Admirable something, if it's about the broadcast, if it's about Hearthstone, if it's about life, if it's about food, if it's about Cheetos, tweet at us at Team Tespa, and at the end of the matches, we'll take some questions from Twitter.
It's a wide category of subjects there. I might have to Google some of those.
Well, good thing I have
my
Google
Asus
right
Republic of Gamers laptop right here.
Yeah, that's right. But let's introduce our first matchup. We're going to have Syracuse versus Penn State as the first matchup. Two kind of northeast colleges, Syracuse being up there in New York.
Yeah, that's right. We're going to be taking a look at a 4-0 team versus a 3-1 team in this one as well. So a lot on this line for Pennsylvania State University, as they are sitting at 3-1 match score right now, with a 10-5 game score overall. In Syracuse side, it's a 4-0 match score with a 12-6 overall game score. You're going to see Rogue banned away from Syracuse in this one. That is a Quest Rogue that's being banned away. And on the other side from Penn State, it is an Odd Warrior that's being banned away in this one. It is an open deck list format, so the players are aware what they're playing against, but each week they are free to submit new decks and new lineups for the competition that's going to take place.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. We have the first Quest Rogue that we've seen this week. We've been seeing a lot of Odd Rogue over the past couple of days, or literally just yesterday. Because we haven't seen any Hearthstone yet. That's admirable.
No, not today. We haven't.
Not today.
Well, I saw some TJ's games, and I saw some of my own games, but
yeah,
that doesn't count. That's not a broadcast game.
Yeah, admirable just jamming some zoo before the broadcast, and losing, winning and then losing. But yeah, we saw some plays yesterday that were pretty good. We saw some good zoo play, I'd say.
Yeah, I think that in the early stages of Tespa, like the first years you and I cast, a lot of times you saw some off-the-wall play, and people bring crazy decks and weird strategies. And these aren't like the seasoned Hearthstone Championship Tour professionals you've been watching. These are full-time college students who are competing, for that pride and that glory, and to share that scholarship money that's up for grabs there. So you do see some unique lines of play and some things that are pretty big mechanical missteps occasionally. But yesterday there was some pretty solid stuff. There was one moment in a zoo matchup where the team failed to take a big risk with an early Solarium that ended up, would have paid off in that situation. But that's a tough call to make with a card that early. You pay a mana and you just hope you rip the perfect card for the situation. That's not how I like to use my legendaries early on in the game. Just, sometimes they're wasted doing nothing.
Yeah. It was a pretty cool day yesterday, but I think we have a good day in store. Let's take a look at the team rosters. Starting off with Syracuse, Happy Doctor, Catman57, and Mr. Teaster.
I thought it was Mr. Tater for a second.
No,
Mr. Teaster.
But it's okay. Not all of us will.
Getting a look at the teams. They are going to be communicating with each other as they play this series, and sometimes they hop on account to account. Yesterday we heard from one of the teams during the interview process that they did not have one of the decks that their opponents had coming into that one. So thankfully their brother had the deck and they were able to practice it over the weekend. As so that's something that's really cool to see as well. You're like, gotta get the practice in somehow. Yo, bro, you got the deck?
Yep, and that's kind of necessary sometimes when you're trying to prepare for something with these high stakes. But taking a look at Penn State, NYWW, NPC, and the King of Asia.
I don't know if it's an actual NPC or not. Those tend to be stationary inside of like.
Well, NPC stands for non-player character.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit of an oxymoron. The fact that he's playing Hearthstone in a competition, but he's also a non-player character. So just wanted to point that little fun fact out there.
Already hit me with the fun facts. It's gonna be a long night.
That's right.
Straighten up the push on my sleeves here for a second.
Yeah.
I gotta get in TJ's ready for fun facts mode.
So I'm making sure that I look over these deck lists, because one of the things that we did yesterday was we misidentified a Druid deck. So I'm trying to cement these deck lists in my mind, so we'll be able to accurately portray what these players are going to be playing.
I have already gone through and notated what these are. Beyond the normal point of just like putting an initial or what have you down there, it's like I looked over it thoroughly and then wrote down the archetype of it, fully spelled out, no abbreviations.
All right, so this is Togwaggle Druid versus Murloc Priest.
That's just not true.
It's Token Druid versus the
Cloning Gallery Priest.
Cloning Gallery Priest. Kind of an OTK priest. Sometimes it OTKs, sometimes it 2TKs. The two-turn OTK. Sometimes
Two-turn
it just
kill is what TJ's alluding to there.
Sometimes it just makes big stuff late in the game and you just can't deal with it. Lich King sticks on the board, you res it. get a bunch of Lich King cards, deal a bunch of damage.
Yeah, Token Druid is it's a deck that wants to pretty much have the same game plan overall. It wants to ramp some mana, wants to draw some cards, wants to get a board state, and then buff all those minions and try to kill you with them. The Cloning Gallery Priest has a very strange approach to how it goes about a game. You know, as TJ mentioned, there's times when you just kind of make a big thing. Sometimes you resurrect it, sometimes you don't. You just get a little bit scrambly with the game plan and hope that it works. But that card right there, Xeric's Cloning Gallery, that's really what makes the deck work in its entirety. A 9-mana card's going to put a copy of a minion from your deck into the battlefield, and it's going to fill up every slot it can with a minion that's available. A unique minion that's in there, but it does copy it if there's duplicates. So if there's 2 Radiant Elementals, you can't get 2 of those. The idea is to get like crazy stuff on board. A Prophet Velen to double your damage, a Malagos to give him +5 to begin with, and then those Radiant Elementals to discount your spells, and you chuck like 20 to 40 damage Mind Blast at
Whoa!
It's ridiculous. I have been got by this deck so many times where I just think it's a regular priest, and then suddenly just dead.
Yeah, weakness, of course, of the deck being that it dies sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes you just draw your big minions, all of them. And when you do that, it's quite an uncomfortable position. So the deck does also feature Lesser Diamond Spellstone. It resurrects 2 unique minions, but it'll upgrade if you cast 4 spells. And so at the maximum level of that spell, it'll resurrect 4 different minions. So you have a backup plan if you draw them. You hope to stall out enough and get those in your resurrection pool. And maybe you could make some magic happen with that.
Yeah, but the name of the game there is stall, because one of the biggest things that this deck can struggle with is the ramp-up time that's necessary. That's why there's a couple copies of Gilded Gargoyle in the deck. 3-mana 2/2. When it dies, it gives you a coin, which can help you get to those power turns quicker. It can also act as another spell that can beef up that Spellstone, as you mentioned. So
quite an important card to their deck as well. You know, something that was brought to my attention was as I was playing Big Spell Mage against the deck, is if you actually polymorph the Gilded Drakes, it's going to put that in the resurrection pool, and additionally, it's going to slow them down a lot. I'm sorry, the Gilded Gargoyles. Apologies. It's going to slow them down a lot, and it also puts it in the resurrection pool for perhaps a disruption effect. So if you're facing down those Gilded Gargoyles, you know, that's something to really think about. If you have a silence effect, a lot of times it's pretty weak against this deck unless it's the picture-perfect situation. Maybe you just silence those Gilded Gargoyles and don't let them have that extra mana.
Yeah. Or just, force them to trade it in and push the face damage instead. Probably not a good idea to trade into the Gilded Gargoyles.
Just a 2/2.
Yeah, it's just a 2/2. But Zeliak's picked up from the Shadow Essence that was coined out with the reduction from the Radiant Elemental, which means that Penn State is in a great position because they can also get another Shadow Essence next turn and really just start to go off.
Yeah, Zeliax, I think, is one of those minions that is just best suited for Shadow Essence. It's rare that you summon the minion and it just gets bigger from the Shadow Essence. You typically want to cheat out some powerful effect like the Lich King, for instance. Zeliax, it costs about the same mana as a Shadow Essence does, but it gets a lot bigger if it's summoned from that one. So pretty scary thing to have to face down is it's going to be back-to-back Shadow Essence for Penn State here.
Yeah, and that's a problem.
Yeah, that spells a lot of trouble for Syracuse because it's looking like quite a while before they're going to be able to launch a significant assault. A lot of times they're going to want to get Soul the Forest down, and even if they manage to do that, Psychic Scream is available for Penn State. Just shuffles them all back into the deck. You don't get any Death Rattles from that. So pretty tough position if you're in Syracuse's spot right now.
Yeah, and Lyra picked up with a Radiant Elemental on board, and currently they have no way to remove that Lyra with the Zeliak sitting in the way. So this is tough.
This is an early big yikes.
Yeah, because Penn State can actually just play Shadow Vision, and
start to pop off with that Lyra.
Yeah, because with the Radiant Elemental on board, that's a pretty big deal because you can also get things like what is it, Twilight's Call, Twilight Nightmares, the card
Vivid Nightmare.
Vivid Nightmare. Sorry.
Summons a copy of a minion with 1 health.
Yes.
Remaining.
And with the Radiant Elemental on board already, it would cost 2 mana, which would give you another Radiant Elemental. So any spell that costs less than 2 would be free. So you can continue that Lyra chain. There are a lot of pre-spells that are 2 or less cost that you can keep chaining, especially Powerwood Shields. Yeah, just Powerwood Shields.
Yeah, I mean, you're naming the good ones, but there's a lot of bad ones.
There are a lot of bad ones.
I'm thinking like Devour Mine, which just like steals 3 cards from your opponent's deck randomly.
Thought Seal with Lyra.
Free from Amber. You know, just big stuff that you're not really going to be able to utilize properly. But when you get the Shadow Visions with it, you get the double bonus of it. Now, hand size can be an issue with Lyra. A lot of times if your hand's filled up with spells and the Lyra stays alive, you find yourself just chaining stuff together, and if you need a key card from your deck, kind of just fumbling around, like, I can't handle all these. I can't hold all these spells right now. Just watching stuff burn, and it gets quite stressful if you need a specific card from your deck.
Especially if you pick up cards from Lyra that also draw a card, because it puts 2 cards back in your hand at the cost of 1 card. Like Master Spell, Powerwood Shield. Maybe if you have a Northshire Clerk on board and get a Circle of Healing.
Ooh, Powered Replicate. That's another 5/5.
I was looking at Radiant Elemental and saying that looks pretty good.
I'm looking at the Radiant Elemental too because it makes a 5/5 copy of it. But Silly Zilly's nothing to scoff at.
That's true.
That bad boy's got taunt.
And Penn State's currently just mid-ranging them down with priest stuff.
It does have some alternate angles of attack. You know, I'd say Token Druid is one of the matchups where you could really execute that, as there's not a ton of removal in the deck. You know, sometimes Token Druids, they even cut the lesser Jasper Spellstones from the list entirely. There is 2 copies of it in Syracuse University's deck list, but not only do they have to draw it, but they got to upgrade it too. That's 3 armor at a time. That's got to be sunk into that. So it is just fight honestly for the board, and that's a tough proposition right now.
Yep. And under a lot of pressure as well with Mind Blast and Holy Smite sitting in the hand.
Potential for a Resurrect here. Cloning Gallery 1 turn away.
Yeah. If they pick up just 1 more Mind Blast, that's game.
Gotta be honest, TJ, I would have liked to see that Radiant Elemental. That would have been a huge deal if they'd copied that Radiant Elemental with the Power Word Replicate. I mean, you'd be looking at a Cloning Gallery this turn. Malagos, Velen, they're both in the deck.
Mind Blast and Holy Smite would both be free.
There's another Radiant Elemental in the deck as well. Penn State was straight at 1. Now, they don't know what removal's in Syracuse's hand. So, you know, I can see the Zilliax. It just crushes the board and lets you keep pushing through. But it's going to be really tough for Penn State to lose a foothold in this one. They've just pretty much got everything going for them.
Yep. And they kind of got to move. They spent a lot of time talking about this. And this was a turn that I think they really need to capitalize on Syracuse having some weak stuff to do.
Yeah, quite surprised to not see the Gilded Gargoyles, plural S, in this situation. You know, the additional coins here.
Oh, and they're not going to empty, so if this Gilded Gargoyle is killed off, they will burn a card off the top of their deck.
Yeah, the big one, of course, you know, being Velen and Malagos in that situation, but Syracuse 12, not really sure there is a good burn available in the deck. Cloning Gallery's ready to be used.
Yep.
Yeah, that's my feeling when I'm staring down this board right now. That Tar Creeper sound. That should do it. There is a limited amount of board space here.
Can always just eat the coin, trade in the Gilded Gargoyle, say I'd rather have an extra minute from my deck to increase these chances.
Yeah. So Lyra's gone. Zilak's still there. Gilded Gargoyles are gone. I think wise to trade off the Lyras here, not throw up the hand.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's just lethal damage with just the Mind Blast. And really showing from Penn State here what this Priest deck can do when, 1, it draws reasonably well, but 2, they're just not faced with any opposition. With Token Druid having an incredibly slow start, no way to deal with the Shadow Essence. Ziliax picked up from that and just kind of snowballed out of control.
Yeah, I would say that for that Cloning Gallery Priest, that its best matchups tend to be mid-range decks that look to really punish opponents during the mid-range or during the mid-game stages, where they leave a big threat unchecked and then you try to take advantage of that. If you're not able to pressure that deck early on, it's really tough for you to get a foothold, because by the time they reach their power turns, you could just be done.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happened. And a lot of times we see you need to kind of make some creative plays with the Cloning Priest, because you get in some sticky situations, you lack removal, and you have to find ways to survive in order to make it to those powerful turns.
Yeah.
But in that game, they were just given their powerful turns very early on in the game. So Priest out of the way. which means I believe Warrior was banned, so Druid and Warlock left?
That's right. Token Druid and even Warlock are going to be the two that are left for Penn State side. And over on Syracuse, still have that Token Druid. They're going to be also joined by the Aggro Zoo Warlock and the Secret Hunter that's in there. So a very aggressive lineup for them. And Token Druid, I would say, while it's an aggressive deck, it's a deck that tries to take advantage of the later stages of the game. So pretty much, I would say, the worst matchup they could have gotten against the Cloning Gallery Priest with that Token Druid.
Yeah, I would say so. I know what the next matchup's going to be.
What is it? Wait, don't tell me. Let me guess.
Let's have some fun.
Even Warlock versus Aggro Warlock.
That's right. You called it Aggro Warlock?
There it is. I'm trying to get away from the term Zoo Warlock, and let me tell you why, TJ. I'm going to soapbox here for a second.
Go for
There's a deck that uses a lot of animals. Do you know what that deck is?
Zoo Warlock.
Surprise! It's Hunter. It's got dinosaurs. It's got grizzlies. More dinosaurs. Wolves. Not a plethora of animals, but it actually uses animals. The term zoo comes from a long time ago when there was an aggressive deck created once upon a time that used a lot of animal-styled cards. The Aggro Warlock plays a similar style to that. Lots of cheap, efficient minions that are meant to pressure your opponent. Just kind of caught on. Zoo Warlock. If you played cards for a while, you know what that term means.
In the light's name.
But it's Aggro Warlock. You go aggro.
I think it's mid-range Warlock.
I'm listening.
Because it has Fungalmancer.
Sold.
Ooh, Doomguard.
Pretty tough turn here
That's
for Syracuse.
a great mid-range minion.
Pretty tough turn here for Syracuse. No pressure to add to the board. But not necessarily pressure that you want to add to the board. You got 2 Flame Imps online early against Penn State, and those are pretty crucial cards. And when you're sitting in Penn State's spot here, you're really tempted to use a Hellfire in this spot, try to clear out the board. But my highest success with even Warlock in these situations is to take that big risk. You play a Mountain Giant, your opponent extends further, you clear it out with a Hellfire, and you start smashing them right back. If you give your opponent time by Hellfiring and let them redevelop for initiative, you're just going to find yourself back in the same situation. So take that big risk, drop that 8/8 bad boy, and start swinging away.
I agree. Penn State does not.
It's a tough call to make, too. They do have Hooked Reaver in hand, so on the initiative reload from Syracuse, they can present defense in the face of that. That can be one of the exceptions to the rule, but it is sometimes very dangerous to do so. If your opponent just still has a very powerful hand afterwards, or say like uses Soul Infusion and makes a pair of 4/4 doubling imps, that can be a big problem. So here they're using a vital defensive tool that perhaps is there to help them recover later on. They may never even get a Mountain Giant down to counter pressure.
Yeah. Because if they had held on to the Hellfire, they would take a considerable amount of damage. There was 7 damage sitting on the board, so they'd be down to 6 health.
Yeah.
But they would have pushed 8 additional damage, would left an 8/5 on board. Syracuse would be at 11. They would have a lethal setup the following turn with Hellfire again, plus Mountain Giant. Those are big breakpoints.
It really is.
They just completely missed.
I mean, it is a razor's edge where your life total and winning and losing the game is concerned in this matchup, especially when your opponent leads with 2 Flame Imps.
And it's not like you're not going to have an opportunity to play the Hooked Reaver again.
That's true. I mean, they're going to knock you down. They're not going to stop. They're not going to just be like, nah, well, maybe he's got Hooked Reaver. I guess I'll leave him at 16. No, they're going to attack. That's how they win the game. Doomguards, Soulfires, punching them, kicking them, karate chopping them. Nobody wants a roundhouse kick to the face while you're wearing a pair of those bad boys.
Forget about it.
But the Hooked Reaver appears to have brought a stop to this.
Yeah, but Slime going to be played, hoping to pick up something.
Another Soulfire. Syracuse going to let it rip. Other Soulfire sticks in hand. Say goodbye to that Hooked Reaver. Doomguard sticks around.
Gonna get that last attack off.
Yeah, the life tap here afterwards is so that you have a higher chance to discard the cards from Solarium. And you know you're going to try to rip the double Soulfire there. So the life tap last is absolutely the mechanically correct play.
Just fit it in there.
Yeah, but now Penn State, what's the defense left now? Nothing.
Nothing.
You got to counter pressure. Offense, in this case, is your defense.
And now, if they spend the whole turn playing Spellstone, they give the initiative over again to Syracuse.
This is really where the missed opportunity comes in as well. It's going to be really tough to recover this. Without another Hooked Reaver or without a Sun Fury Protector, I don't think Penn State's coming back.
They even kept Mountain Giant in their opening hand. Why keep Mountain Giant if you're not going to play it?
Well, you don't always get pressured by 2 Flame Imps, right? You know, sometimes your opponent's going to, play a Voidwalker on 1. They're going to have Keleseth on 2. Okay, they always have double Flame Imp. You're right, TJ.
You keep Mountain Giant, you play it.
Don't disagree. But you don't always get pressured by double Flame Imp. Wait, you just said we do. I rescind my statement. Not much longer, Siren Night Chain Gang. Not much longer. Down to 9. Down to 7. Fully buffed Spellstone. However, so the reload from Syracuse, has been quite light as well.
Yeah.
I would have liked to see this Doomguard come down and just crash to the face, put your opponent to the test on having something that deals with it right away. But I'll tell you what, Life Drinker, 2 copies of it in there, no less, really putting some pressure back on. Penn State, some lofty costed Mountain Giants in hand, but something's better than nothing in this situation.
That Spellstone's pretty juicy at this stage in the game.
Yeah, they're worried. I feel like Penn State's worried about Doomguard, though. If that comes down, how do you get back into this? You're going up to 8 here with this play. You need another taunt alongside of it. It's going to be the Vulgar Homunculus. Cutting into some of that healing the Spellstone's going to provide. It's already fully upgraded. Looking for that 2-turn setup, though. 2 4s on deck to be dropped next turn. And they're going to hope that's good enough.
Syracuse, keep in mind both Soulfires are gone, so their damage from hand is limited to Life Drinker plus Doomguard. No copies of Leroy Jenkins. They have double Doomguard, double Life Drinker, no Despicable Dreadlord.
I'm actually, quite a fan of the aggressive list in that regard too. Just pushes a lot of damage. Your opponents, are often going to account for that card if you're playing a ladder anyhow. In this one, they're not going to. Never worried about leaving 1 health minions on board in fear of Despicable Dreadlord wiping them out. But if you're playing on ladder and you're looking to play some zoo and get really aggressive, I'm loving the double Life Drinker, double Doomguard right now. It's just very aggressive and has a lot of burst potential. And Syracuse really struggling with this one. I mean, it's not a pretty hand. Both Hellfires are gone. That Defile's a possibility, but loading up, looking for the Doomguard next turn.
Still got a lot of health to chop through because Penn State did have the double Spellstone. That'll bring them up to 10, which means outside of Soul Infusion, Doomguard will not be able to get there.
I wonder if...
Still got a counter pressure for Penn State, though. I mean, you can't just, keep chaining together minions and be stranded with 2 Mountain Giants in your hand the whole game. Get the Plated Beetle down, try to buy some extra life, and that Spellstone means it's coming out that turn. Now, 1 single minion that could push through Doomguard, but now you're staring down a Plated Beetle. I think Penn State actually, looking at this, they may get out of it. 1 or 2 more big draws could very easily secure this spot. Another Hooked Reaver against Sun Fury Protector. That's really a big one I look for. Playing 3 cards looks a lot less appealing when your opponent can just attack them all straight away.
Yeah. But not much of a choice to just go for it here. But the one thing I said, Doomguard will stick around. There's no removal. And taps at this stage are dangerous. They're still a turn away from being able to play Blood River Gul'dan if they draw it.
Down to 5. And if that Doomguard's going to die, it's going it's 2/3 your board.
And then you don't clear off the 3 damage from the Fungal Enchanter.
You're at 5. No taunt here. Fungalmancer's going to kill you.
Yeah, they can. Well, they can trade in the Plated Beat. Well, this is tough because if they want to trade over the Doom Guard, they have to do it with the Shroom Brewer and the Acidic Swamp Ooze.
Yeah.
And then, in order to gain the health from the Plated Beetle, they would have to trade it in to the 3/3, which technically gains them the most health possible this turn, because otherwise they'd be taking off 2. In this case, they'd be gaining 3. But then the recurring damage, the Fungal Mancer that they have to worry about.
Huge draw for Penn State. Lich King off the top. Wow. That is massive. Syracuse, they are not winning this game. Holy smokes, that's a draw. You're not getting past that bad boy. Nobody wants a roundhouse kick to the face while he's wearing a pair of those.
They had to be tapping for almost exactly
Son of Fury Protector.
I guess. That is just a very bold call.
Fungal Mancer can still push through it, but that's the rest of the board, and Lich King's sticking around for a turn.
Yeah, that's a Soul Infusion, I do believe. Not the best with a Void Walker.
Does offer a sensible way to kill the Lich King, though. I don't know about that. I think I would let that rip. That Lich King needs to be taken care of.
I guess they maybe want to try and save it for a Doom Guard that they would pick up the next turn, or no, they played both Serenite Chain Ganks and both doubling it.
Yeah, no silence in the deck.
Oh, and picked up a Death Coil for the heal as well. Well, at this point, I mean, they just use it for damage.
I think some slight missed opportunities in this game thus far, but Penn State navigates a dicey situation to get to a really safe spot.
Still not out of the woods just yet. They pretty much are.
I think they're out of the woods. It's 5 extra health sitting on that Death Coil.
Yeah, but if they use a Death Coil for her, yeah.
Yeah.
Forget about it.
You go to 10. Back down to 7.
Still safe.
I'd like to see Lich King, I think, trade one more time in this situation. Penn State, clearly getting a little ahead of themselves here.
Small misstep on the Twilight Drakes, but at this point, whether or not they're 7 health and 6 health as opposed to
doesn't matter.
6 health and 5 health really just doesn't matter.
Oh. There's nothing else left to add damage with, though. That's the final burst damage card in the deck, and I think Lich King has by far done the necessary damage. Down to 5. There's 2 Void Walkers sitting in the Frostmourne that are going to get resummoned here.
Yep. They haven't seen...
Penn State's just like, nah.
They haven't seen the second Fungal Mancer. I just Death Grip for the lethal there.
They got so many ways to win this game at this point. Here's the thing. Once you got that big lead, doesn't matter if you miss lethal. Doesn't matter if you're making mistakes. Those can get closed up, but the big point is you got there. So evaluate the play, see how you got there, see what went wrong, see what went right. Repeat that, but honestly, it's just not that big a deal. They got a Mountain Giant on board. Come on.
Sure.
2 taunts in the way. Lich King sat around for like 50 turns.
Ooh, Sentry Protector. Great draw.
Tough to miss that one, though. Penn State 2-0. A massive pickup on turn 9. Lich King stops the buck.
And 2 pretty smooth wins for Penn State.
I'm not going to call that one smooth, but
okay, that one was rough. 2 smooth wins as far as like last turn. I hit him with a Mountain Giant. Seems smooth to me. It was real rocky.
It was pretty rocky.
Tapping for a 3-outer with 15 cards left in the deck.
Sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
Pretty brutal, but I mean they got there. Why nodding at me?
It's smooth. Just really caught me off guard there. That's a rocky play.
Yeah.
Drop that Mountain Giant. Hellfire the board afterwards. Bah! Hit him for 8.
Smooth as far as not the way that they did it,
But the way that
Not the way that they executed it, but the way that they finished it.
the way that ship came into port.
Just
It was some rocky seas out there, but once you got to land, you're golden.
yeah. Once the car is parallel parked, it doesn't matter how many bumpers you hit.
Once you roll that ball down the bowling alley lane and you have those bumpers to make sure you can't roll a gutter ball, you're good to go.
It doesn't matter how many pins you hit.
Yeah, the Lich King's there to stop it. Make sure it goes right where it needs to be.
Once you cook that pasta, it doesn't matter how tough it is.
Speaking of 24-hour callback. They don't even remember that unless they can't remember it unless they saw it from yesterday. Heard it, I guess. It'd be tough to see us talk about that. You know, we're not on camera right now.
Did you see what I just said?
Token Druid versus the Aggro Zoo Warlock.
Ooh,
Syracuse
smooth
here.
turn 2 from Penn State.
No, that is a very smooth turn, too. That's as good as it gets. Ramp up the mana, make some stuff, buff the board. Syracuse, in the meantime, going to try to deliver some, insurmountable pressure. Typically, I'd say Druid has a lot of strong tools against the way that, this aggressive deck works from Syracuse. You blow up all their stuff, start swiping, you get to those 10-mana turns and reach in Spreading Plague and Branching Pass for attack. That'll wipe out the rest of their board a lot of times. But you don't have quite as many defensive tools. Jasper Spellstones, swipes, that's really about it. Occasionally you see, some copies of Wrath or Tar Creepers or what have you.
Looking for Happy Ghoul? Didn't find it.
Sarnik Chain Gang here, doing a great job, though.
Yeah. This hand from Syracuse does not spell beat the Druid down as well as I'd like it to.
And this is that spot where you're fearing in Syracuse's spot. If you just build board tension here, one big buff can really take over. I'm thinking Strong Shell Scavenger specifically. That'll give all of Penn State's taunts +2/+2.
Which in this case would be 2 Serenite Chain Gang tokens.
Yeah.
So that would be +4/+4 total if you do the math.
Yeah, and that would be Chillwind Yeti sized.
And that would be a big L for Syracuse if they don't trade in here.
Chillwind Bros. You got to trade into that one.
Yeah.
Even still, the buff would look tough in this spot, but Penn State just so much less likely to take that jump if that's the case. Well, once you start the Branching Pass, you can't take it back. This isn't like some of the other Druid Choose One cards.
Once you venture into the forest, you can't get out of the forest.
Yeah, if you're trying to nourish, you can just right-click, goes back to your hand. You're like, whoa, hang on, maybe I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
That Branching Pass, so many times I've just like, let me look at the options real quick. And I go, oop. Well, guess I'm drawing cards.
Should I eat the mushroom? Should I explore the darkness? Or should I loot the chest?
That depends on if you want to draw a card, give your minions +1 attack, or gain 6 armor.
If I looted a chest and all that was in there was armor, I'd be pretty upset.
If I ate a mushroom and all I did was draw a card, I'd be pretty upset.
If I explored the darkness
and my minions got +1 attack, not even me. Got to be a bit careful with Serenite Chain Gangs extending into Spreading Plague, but 2 copies of Fungal Mancer in hand to make sure that they can keep this push going. I don't think you quite expect 2 copies of Arcane Tyrant to join the party, though. Just flanking the sides.
This is brutal.
Big yikes.
This is brutal. I'll say it again. No, I won't.
This is brutal.
Thank you.
I kind of sounded like you there, I feel like. Just a little bit.
I feel like we've casted so much together that our voices are starting to sound like each other.
I'm pretty sure we're just the same person at this point. If someone said to us, you want an ice cream cone? Both of us would say yes. It's a pretty good looking swipe.
Swipe or no swiping.
It's a pretty good looking Soul of the Forest.
Soul or no souling.
I don't. What does that mean?
You want an ice cream cone? Yes.
Yes. Picking apart the board left and right. Soul of Forest going to leave behind some trees. Should those minions be taken out? And this game looks like it's being taken over.
Yeah, unless Syracuse has a Mass Dispel. tucked away into this Warlock deck, which is impossible.
Let me check the list here real quick. Nope. 2 copies of Spellbreaker though. Nope, I lied.
I was about to say.
TJ whipped over to that computer to go take a peek.
Yeah. Also Despicable Dreadlord, which would be pretty valuable in helping them to deal with these wide board states filled with tokens from the Token Druid are missing from the list of Syracuse. Decided not to go for that. Decided to go for the Life Drinkers instead for a little bit more aggressive style of aggressive Warlock, as Admirable would put it.
I think Penn State pretty free to use their health as a resource in this spot as well. Not going to use too much of it, though. But if they wanted to attack those 7-1s to their face,
they probably could.
Oh, yeah. You're way far ahead right now. A buff is all it's missing from this position. This has been a full takeover from Penn State. Syracuse just can't get it going. It's such a big lead if your opponent has Spreading Plague and 1 Arcane Tyrant, let alone 2 Arcane Tyrants. That is a brutal amount of stuff to get on board in 1 turn.
They're just hoping right now that Penn State has 2 dead cards in the hand. And that's probably not the one you want to see go bye-bye.
Stop copying me! Stop copying me!
That's a poor turn.
Yeah. Draw some cards. When you're ahead, get more ahead. That's the name of the game for Druid, and that looks like a Savage Roar representing 8 damage.
Don't have enough for the hero power.
Hey, I'll tell you what, 15 sounds pretty good to me.
Yeah, putting your opponent at 1 with an Ultimate Infestation in your hand and 10 mana available next turn.
Putting them at 4.
Honestly, they could just do whatever they wanted right now and still win.
Just take a break. Go for a casual jog.
Eat a cookie. Cook some pasta.
Ask TJ and I if we want an ice cream cone. It's been a valiant effort, but
that's all she wrote.
Yeah.
Great TV show, by the way. Really inspired me to be an esports caster.
Yeah, that makes sense if I don't think about it.
Yep, this is the strongest play that they could possibly make this turn.
Yeah.
And guess what? They're still dead by a lot.
Yeah, kill a 2-attack minion and put a 2/2 in its place.
Don't blame Syracuse for that, though. Haven't got to play much Hearthstone today on stream. They just want to make sure that they juice that time for all it's worth. But Penn State will take the series 3-0 over Syracuse, giving them their first loss of this fall season for the Hearthstone Collegiate Championship.
That's right. Penn State going to improve to a 4-1 match record now, and the target match wins for all the teams that are competing is 5. If you have a 5-2 or better score, you will move on to the next phase of the tournament. So 1 match away for them, and now Syracuse, you know, they're starting to move that opposite direction. They were 4-0 coming into this one. So, you know, still some weeks left to get it done. They got to win 1 of the next 3 matches they play.
2.
1 of the next 2 matches they play. Excuse me.
1 of the next 2.
So, you know, still a pretty good looking shot for them. But this is a breath of fresh air for your Penn State.
Yeah, for sure. Since it's an interesting type of Swiss where if you get 5-2, you're guaranteed to move on to the next stage. It doesn't really matter if they're paired up. A lot of times when we talk about Swiss, we talk about like tiebreakers, things like that. But it doesn't matter because Penn State just needs to secure that 1 more victory in order to make it through to that next phase.
Yep, threshold is I think it's just what you got to do for such a large field. Yeah, there's like 800 something teams competing in this one. You get tiebreakers at that point, you just
throw them out the window.
Yeah. It's not going to work with that many.
Pop. But we are joined by the guys from Penn State on interview. Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yep. Hi.
Hello. First off, I want to get the story of how you guys became a collegiate team. Where'd you guys meet?
Well, underlying, we're like best friends, somewhat. So, and we code together for many computer science courses.
What do you code together? You guys just get together?
Yeah, we get together and share ideas and code.
What's the coolest thing you've ever coded?
The coolest thing?
Yeah.
We probably coded a multi-threaded program in C for a operating system course.
Cool. I mean,
Sorry,
that sounds
sorry.
cool.
Yeah.
I just want to let you guys know that I was a computer science major in my freshman year of college, and I failed.
Well, you
So-
gotta be success at somewhere else.
Yes, that's right. That's a perfect answer. So you guys now move up to a 4-1 match record, which means just one more match win. You guys qualified to the next stage. How do you feel
Right.
since you guys were 3-1 coming into this match? Were you worried at all? Are you excited
Yeah.
for your next matches?
I was really actually nervous for this match since first of all it's online, a lot of people are watching, and these two are preparing for exams, so most of the heavy duties has to be done by me. I was worried that, especially for the first deck we played, the priest deck is really, I would say, depending on the draws. Yeah, overall, we're pretty stressful about this match, and we're looking forward to advance to the next round.
Final question: where did you find the inspiration for that priest deck? Is it just something that you've been playing around with on ladder?
I saw, I don't know how to pronounce his name. Start with the S. He reached rank 1 with this deck, and I thought it somewhat counters the druid deck, so I managed to use that deck.
Was it Asmodai? Or
No,
someone else?
SJ something.
Oh.
SJ.
I'm not familiar with this.
Yeah, I don't know, but it's a cool deck nonetheless, and it was a pretty cool victory from you guys. So congratulations on your win, and good luck in
Thank you.
your next couple weeks.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thanks.
Like the people just like, kind of walking by the background.
Yeah. Well, it says behind them.
I wonder what they think is
Research
going
center.
on right now.
So of course, they're playing in the Collegiate Hearthstone Championship.
Oh, I forgot.
Everybody should know that.
I need to go tweet at TJ and Admirable about that right now.
Yeah. But that is a true story. I did fail at my first computer science class.
Oh, I know.
I had the option to take it again, but I decided not to.
I can tell just by looking at you.
Yeah, I decided to grow a beard and
Wear shorts on a broadcast that are underneath the desk.
no proof. No proof of that whatsoever. But let us know what you guys thought of those matches and any future matches that we may broadcast for the rest of the day, which is 2 more matches. Facebook.com/TeamTespa, or you can hit us up on Twitter @TeamTespa. And of course, if you guys ask some questions on Twitter, we may just take those questions, read them out on broadcast, and you can get me and Admirable to answer in probably a not-so-smart way about your very smart questions.
Yeah. True story. Not
Yeah.
so smart way. Perfect description for you and I.
But coming up next, we do have Toronto taking on Queen's University, our second match of 3 on the day. So don't go anywhere. More collegiate Hearthstone action right after this. everybody, welcome back to the Fall Hearthstone Collegiate Championships. I'm TJ, joined by the Admiral. That's Admirable. And we're about to bring you the second match of the day. And this one's really cool for a lot of reasons.
I'm listening.
First reason, because it's our second match of the day. Second reason, Toronto versus Queen's University. The University of Toronto from 1827 to 1849 was referred to as King's College. So this is King's College versus Queen's University. Both of these schools are from the kind of greater Toronto area, both from Ontario. So it's also a battle of the Canadian province of Ontario. There's just some insane stuff going on here.
I don't even know how you found all that info. In such a short time is really what I mean by that. I mean, I know how you found it, the internet. But, I mean, you know, this is one of the first times I've ever been speechless.
And one other thing to note is the University of Toronto, their mascot is True Blue the Beaver, and the mascot for the Queen's University is Boo Hoo the Bear. Those almost rhyme.
It's a big alliteration.
I know. This is just, there's so many similarities. University of Toronto, their primary color is blue. Queen's University, their primary color is red. I mean,
identical colors.
This is just
take a look at our shirts.
No, but
for
it's
instance.
they're going up against each other, so they're fighting off. It's red versus blue.
I see what you're saying. Like a Song of Ice and Fire.
Red versus blue. Queens versus Kings. Toronto versus Kingston.
Red checkers versus black checkers.
Yeah, I mean this is about as important of a match as we can get when you're talking about collegiate Hearthstone from the province of Ontario in Canada.
It's very specific when you put it that way, but yes, I agree with you. There's a lot of fun facts, TJ. Thank you for those.
Yeah, but, I mean, it's time to take a look at the roster. We're going to start off with University of Ontario. Zalatis, G-Dome, and Haxerman. Bunch of dentists up in here.
Why did you say it with such like an almost pompous attitude about it? Bunch of dentists up in here.
I, unlike more than 60% of the United States and Canada, don't like the dentist.
I happen to like dentists a lot. Take a look at Queen's University. Mushy Banana, DePringles, and Drywall. Computer Science, Biomedical Engineering, and Computer Science. I figure I needed to hit the tone with the name Drywall in there. It just feels like something that's, you know, quite mundane.
Two things that you want to eat and one thing you definitely don't want to eat.
Yeah, Drywall.
I was going for Mushy Bananas.
Oh. I like mushy bananas. You don't?
If you drown them in peanut butter.
Don't get me started on peanut butter.
I mean, if you drown just about anything, including drywall in peanut butter, it's probably pretty good, but not good for your health.
I boycott peanut butter. You know this.
I do know this.
I've told the story many times. I tell it daily.
I don't. He's already told it once today, so we don't need to hear it on broadcast. Please, don't encourage him. Definitely don't make your Twitter question at Team Tespa. What is the admirable peanut butter story?
I can't. It's too long of a story. Take a look at the lineups. Death Rattle Hunter, Even Warlock, banned away from University of Toronto. Odd Rogue and Odd Paladin going to be the lineup there. So fairly aggressive and looking to take advantage of some slower decks that can be out there. And you take a look at the Queen's University side, it's going to be the Aggro Warlock banned away, and then they have Odd Rogue, Malagos Druid, and Odd Paladin left to work with. So this is actually one of the few times I think we've seen very similarly styled lineups actually clashing against each other. So far, in these 2 days of the Collegiate Champs, we've seen a lot of diversity amongst decks and lineups.
Yeah, that's I don't think we've seen a lineup, you know, exactly the same as another. Even these two lineups, while they share some similarities in the Odd Paladin and Odd Rogue side of things, they have some big differences in the Warlock department and then the Fort Deck department. And I think this is the big weak spot for Toronto, and that's going to be the Death Rattle Hunter.
Yeah, it's Death Rattle Hunter, and almost specifically versus Odd Paladin in this case. You know, Death Rattle Hunter is touted as one of the most powerful decks in the format right now, arguably the most powerful. And one of the reasons for that is just its mid-game potential is through the roof. You do have some ways to beat Odd Paladin with this deck. It's namely Witchwood Grizzly and you know, some form of using Carnivorous Cube and duplicating it, but you don't always have that time. There's just so many things that Queen's University makes turn after turn. It's really difficult for Toronto to keep up with that. A lot of times your attacks are just one big minion or a candle shot here and there. Deathstalker Rex are a key tool, to be able to wipe up some of that stuff in the mid-game sometimes. But for the most part, there's just too much stuff that you have to worry about, and you just can't really contain it as Death Rattle Hunter.
And also, Deathstalker Rexar can sometimes not be that good, because if you look at it, it comes out on turn 6, and Level Up in Fungalmancer, some of the key tools for buffing up these small tokens that the Paladin's going to make, come down a turn earlier. So, doesn't line up quite well. But if they miss those, then they're relying on, let's say, a small board full of 2-1s that are buffed by a Blessed Maul or a Raid Leader.
Yeah.
Then it's great. Mind Control Tech, though, that's pretty good.
Yeah, Toronto's, you know, it's pretty vital to hang on to the coin in a lot of situations, and you know, I think there's a lot of deliberation that could have taken place over that turn, but you have to look at the big picture of it, which is, you know, Toronto's tools are fairly limited. I'm looking at this and kind of wondering where they end up finding an advantage, because in Queen's University's hand, I see the level up right now. They're free to pretty much just keep making minions and play a 7-minion level up at some point in this game.
That's quite large and in charge.
Yeah. It's a lot of stuff all at once. It's not really something that Toronto, I think, is going to be able to recover from if they fall victim to that too early. The unidentified Maul right now, I believe, makes 2 1/1s.
It does.
As part of the battle cry. So
That's the blue one.
I think I'd just like to see that come down right now. It gets a weapon out of your hand, chips away for a little bit more damage, and pretty much does the same thing that you want to do. You know, I look at this and I wonder, does Queen's University even want a Righteous Protector in play right now? I got level up. I just want 7 Silverhand recruits in play.
Well, they're expecting to have something to trade into on turn 4 in preparation for the level up, and maybe they'll reload with the Champion's Maul, so they'll still be left with 6 1/1s.
Yeah.
That can be buffed up to 3/3s.
Thinking like Houndmaster Shaw. This tends to be a pretty important one.
Yeah.
I was waiting for that to steal that Righteous Protector.
But it did not.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
That is a lot of attack. Yeah. That might just be about it in this scenario. 2 Divine Shield minions. Let's crank it up to 14 attack on board. I could see the Mallet taking out the opposing 1/1 here on Toronto's side to preserve that Divine Shield, but outside of that, I'm shipping this straight upstairs.
Hit him for 12. Put him down to 12.
Let me think.
Crank the thermometer up to 12.
Classic saying.
And when you have 3 12s, what does that give you?
Yeah, it's
36.
This is just a tough matchup for Toronto. You know, this is one of the worst ones they're going to see. It's one of the reasons that Odd Paladin, I think, has risen in popularity again, is this is just a common matchup that's in Hearthstone right now. Take advantage of that.
Yeah, unfortunately, Witchwood Grizzly, even though it's pretty beefed up at 9 health, just not going to be enough.
Just whips out of hand with that level up and divide it up however you'd like. You pretty much got it. Game 1 over to Queen's University. Don't blink. Matches are going quick today.
That's what happens when one side brings aggro decks and the other side doesn't bring aggro decks.
Or also just brings aggro decks.
Well, in the last series, the team that brought the aggro decks lost.
Yeah.
But they still lost fast.
Yeah, it's the nature of aggro. You know, you're gonna live and die by that early game, and if you can't substantiate it and then follow it up, yeah, good game. I got. That's how it rolls. Yep. Trying to eliminate them.
But the Death Rattle Hunter, I still don't think its bad matchups are out of the way. It has Odd Rogue and Token Druid. Oh, sorry, Malagos Druid.
Yeah, Malagos Druid I think is quite a good matchup for Death Rattle Hunter. I think one of the reasons why it is popular in the metagame right now. Malagos Druid is just a very strong deck. It's a very popular deck at that, and Death Rattle Hunter typically finds ways to punish it very early on.
Yeah, Malagos Druid needs a lot of time, and the thing that Death Rattle Hunter can do the best is disrupt some of their combo potential by, one, just applying pressure, and not wide pressure, tall pressure.
Oh, yeah.
When we refer to wide board states, a lot of small things that go wide on the board, punished by Spreading Plague. When we talk about tall things, we're talking about Kathrinas, King Crushes, Witchwood Grizzlies, Charged Devil Swords.
Big statted stuff.
Big statted stuff. And also, they have the luxury of being able to include weapon destruction to be able to take care of the twig at some points, and even trackings to be able to get that rolling even more so. So that's one of the reasons why. But we're going to move into Malagos Druid versus Odd Paladin.
A matchup that, you know, historically I've struggled with when I play the Odd Paladin side of this. For whatever reason, it just seems like I really can't
For
get.
whatever reason, there's one reason.
I didn't even finish my thought.
You're just not good. No, I'm just kidding.
I didn't even finish my thought.
Spreading Plague.
For whatever reason, I just can't lose the matchup.
Oh, I thought you meant can't win.
No, you didn't let me finish my thought.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, now it's ruined. Matchup's pretty tough for Odd Paladin in this one, and one of the big reasons is Spreading Plague. Void Ripper, however, is included as a 2-of in University of Toronto's deck. When they see Spreading Plague come down, if it's not on a turn where Branching Pass is used with it to buff up the attack, Void Ripper can come down and just shred that Spreading Plague right away. You rebuild the board very quickly and start to threaten again. The two main factors I think that can put some pressure on Toronto with that is, number one, having that Twig of the World Tree early, or number two, having Swipe early on to offset that first build that you make. It's, you know, if you invest resources into making that wide board state other than just the hero power, a Swipe can really slow that down and give Queen's University a lot of time to find an endgame Spreading Plague.
Yeah.
Reporting for duty.
Copy an Innervate in hand as well. Oh. Is that a knee-jerk reaction from the last series?
Lich King! Lich him real good.
I don't know where you're going with that.
That was it. There was
that's
no
the point.
I wasn't going anywhere.
Oh, I can tell.
Queens is going to be able to bring out this Lich King quite early, and they even have a twig to start swinging. Break that twig. I can break this twig.
That's the sound that Malfurion makes as he's swinging away with that twig turn after turn. Toronto looking over the board state here. When you have a hand like this, you don't have the Fungal Mancer, you don't have level up. You want to plan out how to partition your resources. You know, this is the exact situation where a swipe can be devastating if you put too much on the board. So the question is, can Toronto pose a threatening-looking board and perhaps see if Queen's University can react to it? You know, typically Queen's University cannot follow up on a Fungal Mancer or cannot follow up on a level up pretty well, so they have to use preventative measures in that case.
Yeah. And Swipe picked up, and admirable. This may look like a juicy board to swipe, but two things here. One, you're not going into turn 5. You don't have to worry about buffs outside of a Dire Mole that, or, yeah, Dire Mole.
Unidentified
A
mole.
Dire Mole. An unidentified mall.
that leaves you in dire straits.
That leaves you in dire straits with the Divine Shield. I think I was trying to say Divine Shield, not unidentified maul at the same time, and it came out as dire maul.
The other one is +1 attack, though. You know, +1 attack mallet. There's a lot of extra damage that's tacked onto that.
It's a lot of extra damage, but this deck does have quite a bit of armor gain, so it can stabilize once they get to that point. And just being able to swing with the twig an additional turn, I think, is a pretty big deal. Because that means you break the twig one turn earlier, you have a big swing turn one turn earlier.
Ooh, and that signals one of two things to Toronto. That Swipe or Spreading Plague is present, or that that Penn's, why can't, now you got me not being able to talk, or that Queen's University is hoping to draw a Spreading Plague or a Swipe. Either way, you're thinking Spreading Plague and Swipe, so how do you fight against that best?
You don't. You level up.
Well, yeah, but it's not there right now.
You don't play any minions.
I'm looking at Raid Leader, and I'm feeling damage.
Raid Leader, don't play anything else.
I'm thinking Raid Leader and damage. Something to think about for playing additional cards would be the Divine Favor that's in the deck. If you empty your hand quick enough, you may be able to draw some additional cards. So there is a benefit to using additional resources sometimes and just hoping your opponent, you know, doesn't have an answer to it.
Move quickly.
Honestly, with Leroy and Vine Cleaver in hand, I wouldn't be surprised if they even throw out the Acris Veteran. Max damage.
Argent Squire plays, you know, a somewhat similar role to that as well.
Oh yeah, it still pushes in extra damage because they have to swing with the twig on the following turn.
Ooh, this is interesting now. With Nourish picked up, the ramp for mana, and then Innervate and Coin.
For the swipe,
Yeah,
and then you play an Arcane Tyrant behind it.
And go right into Lich King.
Ooh.
That's a big turn for Queen's University. That Nourish is probably the best draw in the deck. Yep, it is definitely the best draw in the deck.
Yeah.
That is not a sight you want to see if you're on the Odd Paladin or Toronto side of this battle right now. Got a free Corridor Creeper though.
And a Righteous Protector to righteously protect the Corridor Creeper. And a button that gives you 2 1/1s.
Queens is at 12, so I'm looking at perhaps maybe buffing the Righteous Protector in this situation, forcing 1 or 2 extra damage to Queen's University's face, but that Acros veteran sticks on a Corridor Creeper. Could it possibly deliver more? Do you ever have time to deliver more damage in that situation? I don't know why you're looking at me sarcastically and just mimicking me as though I were making motions, which I wish everyone could see right now, but...
But what?
I'm going to stop because you keep doing it.
Let me think. I must move quickly.
Lich King's going to come down next turn, and that'll probably be the end of the game.
Yeah.
Well, it could get something dead. If they get something bad, like they get Army of the Dead, they rip it the next turn, they get no minions, they discard all of their key spells, including both Spreading Plagues. Then we got ourselves a game.
Warriors of the frozen wastes.
Now Leroy's probably going to have to come down, start putting some work on and taking care of this Lich King. You saw what happened last series if you were watching. When you leave Lich King around for more than 1 or 2 turns, it's usually lights out.
Yeah, such a high impact card because it gives you other high impact cards along with it. Similar to Ysera, but better.
Yeah, it's got more attack, it has taunt, doesn't cost as much mana, the cards are better.
Well, on average, the cards are better, I'd say.
Well, Ysera's Awaken deals 5 damage to everything, and Death and Decay just only hits your opponents.
Yeah, but costs more mana.
Oh, no.
Laughing Sister, though.
I'd pay 2 less
the
for a swipe
best
if it
card.
also hit my entire board.
Well, Death Grip is not a very impactful card in this matchup specifically
It's true
because
story.
there's a lot of dead minions in the deck for the Odd Paladin. I guess Baku is pretty big.
Yeah, it's just, I'm looking at this Leroy. This is not the way you envision using it on Toronto's side. I just don't think they have a choice. And it's just on a 6-mana turn as well, so you don't even get to use the hero power. Like, you are conceding board position to get this done. So
They're just going to hope that Bind Cleaver just gets there.
start attacking.
Yep.
I mean, your opponent only does have 1 card left. I mean, that's not unreasonable.
1 card plus a Lich King card. Swipe just doesn't buy them that much time. Let's see what they get from the Death Grip. Argent Squire. If they got Baku, it would have turned the hero power back to normal for Toronto.
No, it would not have. That's not how that works. Start of game, TJ. Start of game.
I know, but that'd be funny if it did work like that.
I don't know how many times we have to go over this.
I'm just saying it'd be funny if it did work like that. People would start playing Arphis.
Just trying to grip. Ah, he stole my Baku again. My hero power's back to normal. My deck is ruined.
Now I'm not playing even cost cards for nothing. I mean, this Vine Cleaver is just going to start chopping.
You got to find the high impact cards as well. For Queen's University side, found Twig, found some removal, found Lich King, but what's the follow-up here?
I mean, this is kind of similar to the situation I laid out earlier, except without the Army of the Dead shenanigans. They picked up a low-impact Lich King card. Toronto was able to deal with it, and they're just not picking up anything else.
I think you're likely headed down to 4 here. If you're Queen's University, I want that Vine Cleaver chopping away. Are you worried? Sure. There's a 1 durability Twig of the World Tree on the other side, ready to unlock a potential 20 mana turn.
But currently, Queen's University only has 4 mana to use.
6 mana if you count the hero power.
And if they want to hero power something down, they have to break the Twig in order to do that.
So Fungalmancer does make some pretty good sense in that regard. Build a big board. Maybe you get some chip damage on your opponent. You get to follow up with Vine Cleaver. 1 armor, Ferocious Owl. It's been called Shield Block Plus by a lot of people I know, but this is Shield Block D-. 5 mana 4/4s are not really the spot I want to be in on my 10 mana turns.
And that swipe is premium removal.
This is looking terrible.
They need Ultimate Infestation last week.
This game's been going on for days.
What to do?
A grueling battle back before Hearthstone had turn timers in the challenge mode, where you could challenge your friends.
Yep, back in the day, used to watch tournaments. I think back to ESGN Fight Night, where the infamous Kevin Monk Dong would rope for like 10 minutes, and the tournament admins would have to go to him and say, "Hey, Kevin, you got to play the game."
You are aware that you're in game right now.
Yeah.
It wasn't quite that severe, but it was pretty long turns.
Vine Cleaver and level up.
Whoa! Did they just punch the Arcane Tyrant?
They sense that Queen's University has a weak hand.
That's why I want to attack face.
Well, this protects their 3/4.
But they beat it 2.
Naturalize is not good.
No.
They're dead.
Swipe and trade in.
If you naturalize your own minion, you draw the card.
No, you don't. God, that card would be ridiculous if it did that. I don't know why you brought that imagery to my head. I think Toronto should have put him down to 2 in this situation. If Queen's University finds an Ultimate Infestation next turn, they may very well regret having not attacked that Vine Cleaver in the face. They had a fairly healthy life total, and that is very valuable pressure that can come out in that spot.
Yeah, I actually agree with you on that point. I get that they sensed a weak turn and wanted to try and protect their 3/4.
Right, now the second level up being drawn, I think, pretty much puts a halt to that, even if it's Spreading Plague in this spot. Queen just doesn't have it, but that's Libidinous Floop as a 3/4. And that means nothing. Toronto. Kind of a weird slap fight at the end of this game where, usually you're expecting some heavy-hitting turns, cards flying all over the screen and crazy combos being put together. Not just like some 3/3s attacking and like some 2/4s attacking. And then hero powers, and that's basically it.
I mean, they had...
What a weird endgame.
Queen's University had a great start. They had Wild Growth, they had Twig, they had Nourish into Lich King and Swipe, clear the board, slap a Lich King on the board uncontested, lived for 2 turns. Then what?
Nothing.
Then nothing. Well, I guess it only
5 mana 4/4s.
Yeah, and that was pretty much it. Drew like Swipe, Libidinous Floop, Naturalize, Ferocious Owl for 1 armor. Just a really poor slew of draws there. And but I like the way that Toronto diversified their pressure.
I think the Fungalmancer turn was really good.
The Fungalmancer turn was really good. We were thinking Vine Cleaver in the face, but they did a lot of damage from that Fungalmancer.
Oh, yeah.
And brought out some key resources. I think the only turn that we can talk about where maybe questionable was the Vine Cleaver, but I like the idea of it, trying to protect your 3/4. You miss 4 damage now, but you're hoping to net more and more 3 damage over the course of the following turn. So, mine's in the right place.
but go face. This is opponent's at 6. Hit him. I'm not going to Leroy down their minion if they're at 7, all right? I'm just saying.
This lesson brought to you by twitter.com/that'sadmirable.
I always do.
I don't even know what's going on anymore.
All right, let's get into game number 3 then.
Am I in a simulation right now?
Odd Rogue versus Odd Rogue. Let's take a look at some of the differences between these two lineups.
Yeah, this Odd Rogue matchup is like, can get pretty crazy and volatile as Queen's University is looking at a very weak opening hand in this mirror match. Typically the player or the team going first in this instance will have the advantage as you get to have the attacker's initiative and begin dictating where the trades are going and how the board momentum is working. It's pretty tough, typically in Toronto's scenario, to swing that right back around, but Queen's University has some not very strong cards in the opening hand. Leroy and Myra's Unstable Element do a terrible job at fighting for the board, and that's really what this matchup is about, a constant battle for who can get a minion to stick first.
Yeah, and looking at the list, they're pretty similar. The difference being Toronto has a copy of Ironbeak Owl and a copy of Tar Creeper, whereas the cards in the slot, that same slot for Queen's University, is a Blink Fox and Edwin Van Cleef.
That Dire Maul a turn late. They would love to see that one on turn 1 because now if Toronto wants to get a dagger online and start to threaten to attack some of Queen's University stuff, they don't actually have to use a charge of that 2/2 dagger early on. And that's a very vital charge because your goal is to force your opponent to spend those charges and use that mana on a turn where they'd like to land a key 5-mana card. And in this spot, Queen's University going to account for that and say, I want a Hench Clan Thug next turn and attack this Dire Mole. And the turn after that, I want to be able to play another 3-cost card and attack again with this Hench Clan Thug. So really hoping that sticks to the board because their hand is just really poor right now.
Yeah.
So many options.
I think it's a good call.
They do have the Punish. Toronto does have the Punish as play from Queen's University, which is the Cold Blood. But is it really a Punish?
Yeah.
It pushes 10 extra damage.
Oh, you mean like the Cold Blood immediately?
Yes.
Oh.
Because this play pretty much tells Toronto that they're going to Hench Clan Thug and they're going to take 5 more damage. Now, the question is it worth using to push that extra damage, but give up the board and have this Hench Clan Thug saying, deal with me?
I'm really surprised by that play. Queen's University had almost telegraphed that Hench Clan Thug was the minion playing next turn. It's pretty tough for not killing your opponent's minion to be a bluff in this scenario. So when you use that Cold Blood, it means the Hench Clan Thug is living for a turn. So the damage you output with Cold Blood is either returned in counteractive board pressure or just by returning damage into your face. It's a very, I don't want to say strange, but strange use of Cold Blood in a matchup where you could turn, 1/1 Argent Squires and Fireflies into ways to kill your opponent's key minions.
I'm a simple man. I see Cold Blood, I use it. Look, they're at 18.
The Vile Spine in hand is likely a nod to it, but if Queen's University was able to compound the pressure here this turn, it was a really big deal. And from Toronto's side, it will look as though that will be the case. You're always fearing Fungalmancer. You're always fearing your opponent, having a deadly poison and swinging the board back around very aggressively. So the damage could be a nod to, deadly poison being able to be leveraged by Queen's University since they're the players going first. A lot of benefits and consequences
The light protects me.
to a lot of these plays. And you can tell that they are pained to attack this little 1/2 Firefly, but this is a battle of onboard resources. I'd like to see it happen. Don't mind seeing that happen, though. I like damage.
I also like damage.
But I don't like that Firefly. He's just ticking me off.
Somebody shut that Firefly up.
Well, they're going to shut up this Hench Clan Thug. Chomp.
Vile Spine Slayer definitely at least is in the top 3 of most satisfying cards to play in the game of Hearthstone.
Just kill it so it's dead.
Everything from the effect to the animation to the sound effect just makes sense.
I agree. SI7 picked up some breathing room for Queen's University. Pretty far behind on life, but yeah, the board's still swinging.
Trying to determine whether or not this Flame Elemental is worth being placed onto the board or
This guy's
worth saving to maybe activate their own Vile Spine Slayer should they draw it.
Yeah, I think with this wide of a board state, you're looking at one of two things, which is either next turn you're going to rip that Myras, or number 2, you're going to get a big draw and be able to swing back the board yet again. So Fungalmancer, Vile Spine, those are the big ones there. But if you don't draw either one of those and you need to Myras instead, you will have an additional card in your hand. Unless you want to get it on board, in which case you're not seeing Southsea Deckhand, you're not seeing Cold Blood become active in that turn. So this is quite of an important measure here for Queen's University, where there's a lot of different outcomes to both playing and not playing this 1-mana 1/2. I like stuff in play. If it's in play, then it attacks.
Let's take a look back at the things that we know after listening to the last 2 hours of this broadcast that Admirable likes. 1, face damage. 2, minion damage. 3,
So
other types of
many
damage. And 4, drawing cards. Are there any aspects of Hearthstone that you dislike?
I wish the board was a little bit more destructible. Like they could break the windows on that chapel, but like, why can't I break the window sill? Why can't I set that Griffin free in the bottom right of that Stormwind map?
The light
You know, he's like sitting in his perch. He's got his nest around him.
I don't know what you're referring to.
These pumpkins all around the map are ticking me off right now.
Somebody shut those pumpkins up. Oh boy.
Right for board. Myra's on deck with Cold Blood there. Count the damage with Leroy. It's still some fighting to do.
Yeah, 17 damage available, which means one thing. That's admirable. Over the next 2 turns, Queen's University is going to perform every action that you love in the game of Hearthstone. They're going to draw a ton of cards. They're going to deal a ton of face damage. They're probably going to have their minions damaged as well, which technically counts. And you better believe when they're done, they're going to cook a big plate of pasta.
When I'm in Queen's University spot here, I want to take care of everything on the opposing side of the board. Toronto is super vulnerable in this spot. If you wipe out the remains of this board, you are so likely to come out of this one with a clean victory.
Oh.
Wow. I did not see that coming.
That's a lot of missed face damage.
The Cold Blood, I think that's a great use of it. Use it to take out a key minion from your opponent.
What about the Myras? Or the Leroy instead of the Myras?
So many options.
You got 6 damage from it, so I don't mind, but I want to have 10 cards in my hand and be using them to blow up all of Toronto's stuff they're going to play next turn. Me personally. If this Leroy had paid off, you would have gotten 12 damage from it. And so that's the risk that Queen's University decided on. A lot of it, I think, has to do with the fact that Toronto has just expended so many resources that they feel like there's a good chance that Leroy connects for a lot of damage. But now you look at the board, Queen's University is running out of resources. They really don't want to just play a 2/2 Fungalmancer here, and Toronto has a Fungalmancer in hand. If they draw a cheap minion, That's going to connect. That's bad news.
Also, if they play Myers, they're going into fatigue. They don't have much health to use as a resource either.
And no charge minion to stick that Cold Blood on.
Nope.
That Cold Blood is likely to be dead the rest of this game.
Well, you can stick a Cold Blood on this Divine Shielded Argent Squire to force the minion attacks. But that's not good. I don't like that at all. I don't know why I said it.
Toronto's job right now is to not die and deal as much damage as possible.
Yep. I think the not dying part,
That's not up to you at this point.
I guess so. I mean, you've seen Leroy, you've seen Cold Blood, you've seen one South Sea deckhand. So the damage from hand, you can narrow it down. But you're thinking, oh man, I die to South Sea deckhand, Cold Blood,
Poisons.
deadly poison. Over the course of 2 turns, mind you.
Yeah, so that's down to 7. And then
Actually,
Queens will tick down to 5 after that. You're just hoping you can get in 5 points of damage on the next turn.
you die to South Sea deckhand, Cold Blood, deadly poison, SI7 agent. And literally the only piece of that puzzle Queen's University is missing is the South Sea deckhand, which is the one thing that ties it all together.
Yep.
I wonder.
Where's your giggling inventor now?
Could be quite fine at 7 mana here, honestly. You'd be pretty happy with it.
Yeah, you would. Looks like a Vile Spine Slayer is in the works for this.
Yeah,
3/3.
I'm just wondering why you would SI with it. I guess just the biggest thing in play.
I think Void Ripper would probably be better, right? You're not going to really have a use for it. Maybe to switch a minion's attack around.
Take it 2 fatigue next turn. If Toronto can deal a single additional point of damage beyond that 2, that's game. But they can't. And so instead,
They're
on Queen's
dead.
University side, 6 damage sticks to the board. Cold Blood in hand is 4. 2 more poisons attached to that dagger is 6 more. And Queens is going to come away with a sailing 2-1 lead for Queen's University.
A very close one. And right now they're kind of just showing off. Saying, hey, Toronto, look at all this damage we had.
Still had all these.
Yep. Didn't even get to show off the second deadly poison, which would have been even more damage on top of it. And Toronto, 1 point of damage was all they needed, and they could not find it.
That is a crazy finish to that game.
That's a photo finish.
Now, the thing about it is odd rogue matchups can get quite tricky. You know,
yeah.
one small change in the way the game typically looks when both players have strong hands is like a completely giant chain reaction that's like that movie The Butterfly Effect where like the flap of the wings change the universe. Whoever knows how that's going to happen. But when you watch an odd rogue matchup take place, you start to see it. And the one little tiny thing that changes, you look back 5 turns later and you're like, oh yeah, this would have been a way different landscape for this game. On a 1-1 doesn't seem like that big of a deal but until you land a Fungal Mancer on it. It's kind of the gist of that one. Every single thing in that matchup really counts.
Well, it came down to 1 damage, so it just goes to show you that if we look back at that game, we may be able to find where that butterfly flapped its wings.
Yeah.
I think we just end the show there, right? Nope.
It's like some soft rock
Just got
music
word.
plays.
Oh, yep. Okay, yeah, we're still here.
Queen's University's got a tough matchup in this one. The old Death Rattle Hunter versus Malagos Druid.
A classic.
Why is that, TJ?
Just two decks that have been in the metagame now for, I mean, at least a couple months. Two of the most popular decks in that metagame, mind you.
Two of the most powerful decks.
Also two of the most powerful decks. You know, those things tend to go hand in hand.
Is that so?
Powerful equals popular equals powerful.
I'm not sure the third point of that.
It's an infinite
Is
loop.
okay. It's perpetual energy.
Perpetual, powerful, popular. Plants.
Popping the peas.
That's right.
Three of the World Tree in the opener for Queen's University. Can often be a vital card in this matchup if Toronto's not able to deliver early significant pressure in the matchup. But as we saw in the previous one, they did struggle quite a bit with being able to just find card draw towards the end.
And one of the things also that stands out to me about this Death Rattle Hunter from the side of Toronto is they are lacking weapon removal. They've decided to include 2 copies of Defender of Argus, which is a card that we've started to see more of in the list. And as you see more or less Malagos Druid, you start to have less weapon destruction. But honestly, I still think weapon destruction is pretty good in the current metagame, because for every less player that's playing Malagos Druid, there's one more player playing Odd Rogue.
Oh, yeah.
And Vine Cleaver is a heck of a card.
Yeah, the Gluttonous Ooze can serve as a disruption tool in some of your tough matchups too. Thinking about Odd Rogue specifically, it's another deck that Death Rattle Hunter really struggles against. So being able to blow up that opposing dagger, just get a couple points of life, or offset it when they've had a big turn with a deadly poison to really push the tempo back, those can be really big deals. So not having it here in this matchup means, for Queen's University, they know that it's not there, and they're free to get that down and plan knowing that they'll be able to use it and activate it.
That peace of mind can often be the necessary sanctuary that your mind needs after 3 games of a best-of-5 series in the Battle of Ontario in the fall Hearthstone Collegiate Championship.
Bravo.
But sometimes it doesn't matter if you don't draw the cards afterwards that you need.
Yeah, the hand has gotten quite heavy quite quick. And Keleseth, it's a good card in Death Rattle Hunter, but I'd say not nearly as big of an impact as it has in like the aggressive Warlock decks that feature it, for instance. In those decks, it can be quite silly. In Toronto's deck, it's just, it's pretty good. You see it and you go, ah, dang it. Queen's University's hand is so just like weird. It's just on all of like their one-of combo cards that make a difference. Now that's one you do like to see because you start to plan towards it.
Yeah, also just having the twig makes you much happier to draw the big stuff in your deck.
This hand went from looking, quite tragic and like, what am I gonna do? I think I might lose this game, to all of a sudden like fist pump, yeah! You're pretty sure you're gonna win this one if your opponent does not kill you really quick.
Yeah, I think Toronto may need to find a little bit more hand space here. Maybe flanking trick to replace a 3/3. Now, Defender of Argus, the only actual play that they can make on this turn. Really for Toronto, it's just about making their way to that Kethrina turn and trying to put as much pressure on Queen's University as possible until they get to that point.
Yeah, often save the coin so that you can have it on your turn 7. It's such a big deal.
Yeah.
T-2 swings. And counting.
Queen's University trying to set up a pretty safe turn for this Dream Petal Florist. It is a little bit dangerous because it could end up hitting the flooped Arcane Tyrant.
In which case, Floop will turn into a Dream Petal Florist.
Yes.
The ideal situation is to land it on Malagos.
That's ideal.
Yeah. You don't always get ideal.
No. You don't.
If I'm Queen's University here, I'm probably going for it.
You can also nourish and try and set up for ultimate infestation next turn, but you'd have to dump another card from your hand, and the only real one you could do would be the Swippity Swipe. You could do it with Flute, but
There's just so many little things that this deck can do that make a large impact on the future of the game.
what would you do here that's admirable?
I'm looking at Nourish.
No. What? Not what you're looking at.
Well, I'm looking at Nourish, Swipe, and then Ultimate Infestation, because then I spend all of my mana, and then I Ultimate Infestation with 10 cards in my hand and have a Twig snap the next turn. But you could convince me quite easily to Dream Petal Florist, and that's a big hit. That is the 1-2 hit with the Dream Petal Florist. And that's one of the reasons that I like the Dream Petal Florist, is that this is a tough matchup. If your opponent coins Katarina on this turn, you are in a lot of trouble, even if you get that big land on the Malagos here. Everything has to be picture perfect in that spot for it to go right, and when you swipe Malagos in the Floop, it is picture perfect.
Still some pressure sharing him down, though. Toronto also has access to the Play Dead in the following turn.
And there is an Innervate in Queen's University's deck. Keep that in mind. If they draw Innervate in this spot, they're able to play Alexstrasza, use the Twig, and then Mallies and swipe. And that's game. So it's not Innervate.
It's a Wild Growth, which is not game. And they don't really have any other option here. They have to do something on this board or they're just dead.
Yeah, they're looking at card draw specifically to find Moonfires, swipe, and the like. None of it shows up, but Spellstone joins to perhaps play some more defense in this situation.
But there's 14 damage on board. 15 with the Candle Shot, 17 with the Hero Power.
You're pretty terrified of leaving anything on board, but I'm not.
Do they have to Spellstone the Katharina to take power off the board?
Time waits for no one.
Okay, they're gonna unleash the Twig.
It's a big swipe. It's a really big swipe.
It's a big swipe.
Like, really big.
Now, with both Malagos on board, they have to clear off both of these in order to survive an ultimate infestation.
And that's pretty easily done in this situation.
It actually is, yeah.
You have Hunter's Mark in hand. You've got a 4-2 against a 3-4. I mean, taking the big turn with the Malagis here, you get a lot of damage from it, and your opponent's on the back foot. But if Toronto capitalizes and you can't follow up strong, you potentially lost a lot of leverage in this one. Again, the big payoff here is Ultimate Infestation, being able to launch that the next turn. And honestly, just look for another Ultimate Infestation that ends the game. A lot of different ways to do this, and I like getting the Shaw online. I think this maximizes the use of your minion potential here as well. Spider Bomb at this point is going to be quite a poor card. Go ahead and use it. See what you can get done. Easy Ultimate Infestation for Queen's University here.
Yep. No point using it on the Houndmaster Shaw. You give yourself the swipes.
Swipe and
the
Moonfire.
Ultimate Infestation, Moonfire.
Toronto has to find a way to get armor.
Deathstalker Rexar is the only way.
And then find a way to start getting lifesteal. And it has to be that turn right there, and it's not.
Nope. Queen's University, a tough situation. Having to go off with their Malagos Flute Break the Twig combo a little bit sooner than they probably would like. But regardless of when you use that combo, it's always going to be very powerful.
Oh, yeah.
They were at a pretty low life total, and Toronto made a push, but ultimately was stopped, and that means Queen's University is going to take the series 3-1 And you could see a little bit of cheers, and I don't know what that was. Maybe a dance, a punch? An interesting form of martial art that I'm not familiar with? 4?
4 Shaws.
Oh, okay.
When was the last time you saw 4 Shaws? How could there be 4 of that guy?
I actually just saw it like yesterday.
I don't know, but it's game 4.
Ah.
4 Shaws, 4 victories.
Well, this is...
But that was prior to this match. They're at 5 victories now.
That's right.
5-0. They are locked up for the next phase of the fall Hearthstone Collegiate Champs. Got to have that 5 or 2 score or better after the Swiss rounds, and they have done it just in the first 5 rounds to go.
Yeah, and that game score, they move up to 15-4 total game score for Queen's University. That's a very impressive game score. It seems like they've been dominating most of their matchups. They've lost, on average, less than 1 game per series in their first 5 matches of the fall season here. So, brilliantly executed.
Can't say the same about myself. I lose an average of about 2 games every 3 games that I play.
That's a terrible win rate.
It really is. Only boasted by you as well.
Maybe we should just start playing some more Malagos, Druid. Maybe that'll help you out. But for now, it looks like we are joined by the guys from Queen's University. Hey, guys, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Hey, big congratulations on the win. It was an impressive one to watch. And I want to ask a question. I am not familiar with the landscape of colleges in Ontario, in Canada. Is there any type of rivalry between you and the University of Toronto?
I
think it's Western.
Yeah, honestly,
Western.
our biggest rivalry is with Western down in London. But I mean, U of T. There's actually a long-standing rivalry between the engineers at U of T and Queens. But other than that, not so much.
Yeah.
Okay, well.
TJ was talking big game like he knew everything was going on here.
Yeah,
and suddenly the truth comes crashing in.
You guys just brought me down to reality. But with this win, you guys have secured your 5th win, which means that you're moving on to the next phase. How does it feel?
Feels good.
Fantastic.
Feels very good. It definitely feels very good.
Yeah, there was some nerves on our end, so it feels good to finally get it over with and get the win. So
yeah,
glad to move on.
Awesome, and I want to ask you guys a question because I asked this to a lot of the teams. How'd you guys get started? Where'd you guys find each other? Have you been friends for a while, or?
This is more me and Bruce's story right
yeah,
here. So Bruce and I met in our orientation group. We're both first-year students, and we heard about the tournament, and we were looking for a 3rd person and just throw a notice out there on the Queen's Esports Discord asking for someone.
And we got this 6th-year boy.
Yeah, master's student.
Yeah, that's just kind of how it worked out. I just kind of tossed my name out there. They were looking for a teammate, so it kind of worked out in the end. I'm glad that we found a team because now we're 5-0, so it's going good.
Do you ever feel like the 3rd wheel? Do you ever feel like they leave you out on all their cool first-year conversations that they have?
Yeah. Oh, totally, yeah. I feel way out of the loop, you know, these young kids.
So much younger, yeah.
The young whippersnappers and their fancy little Malagos decks.
Yeah, honestly, that's one of my favorite decks, but I don't know. I can't speak for you guys, I guess.
Winning. That's all I'm happy about.
They just want to win, so I guess that's the same thing as playing Malagos, so whatever.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want you guys to give away any secrets, but since you're qualified for the next round, are you going to use the next 2 weeks as sort of a practice to make sure you guys are keeping it serious? Or perhaps if, hypothetically, Nathan and I here were to send you some really awesome, cool decks that, trust me, are very competitive, you guys would play those in your next 2 weeks of Collegiate Hearthstone.
I mean,
I think I'd consider it.
Yeah,
I think we'd consider it.
Definitely, man.
Now that we're guaranteed in, honestly, I normally just play the meme decks, so I'm down.
Yeah.
All right, me and That's Admirable will get to work, and we'll get back to you guys. But for now, big congratulations, and good luck in your next couple weeks.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Have a good one.
I happen to have been working on a crazy Dragon Quest hybrid Shadow Reaper Anduin Archbishop Benedictus Deathwing Resurrect Priest deck, and I think it's right on the verge of becoming the next big thing in Hearthstone.
Bruce!
I don't get the reference.
His name was Bruce.
But why did you say it like that, though? Am I
Really
missing
cool.
something?
I want to be that guy's friend.
Oh, well, yeah, me too.
Yeah. I wish I went to Queen's University. Why are you pointing at me for?
What am I supposed to say to that?
Uh,
Yeah, I wish you went there too.
Yeah. No, but that was
Proud of you, TJ.
definitely
I
a-
believe you can make it.
definitely a fun match to watch and a good group of guys. The thing that I like the most is how they're just putting themselves out there. Just throw a message on whatever message board, Discord you have and saying, hey, we're looking for Hearthstone players. We want to compete in Collegiate. We want to compete in TESPA. We want to win some scholarship money. And we want to do it in style.
I found most of the time that I need help with something, just simply asking people is a great way to do it. That's pretty much just it. People who are really good at what they do, they like talking about it. They
Yeah.
appreciate that you have recognized that talent and want to inquire about it further. That's what I've typically noticed, which is why I asked tons of people who are way better at me at stuff I like to do about advice for it, and they always tell me. See, that's my secret.
Just be worse.
I just copy everybody else. I net deck real life.
If you're worse than everybody at everything, someone will always have something to teach you and will always be your friend.
Bingo.
That's Admirable's motto. But let us know what you guys have thought of the matches so far. You can hit us up, facebook.com/TeamTespa, and get those questions in if you want. Or not.
It's really sheepish. Big inspirational
Yeah.
speeches from TJ.
At Team Tespa on Twitter, and maybe we'll read one at the end of the day if you guys decide to. But we have one more match left on the day, and of course on the week, and that's going to be Moorhead taking on Robert Morris. So don't go anywhere. More collegiate Hearthstone action right after this.
Powered by Intel Core i7 processor.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Fall Hearthstone Collegiate Championships. I'm TJ, joined by the Admiral. That's admirable. Fixing his tie. One more match left on the week. That's admirable.
That's right. It's been a blast so far. I mean, today has been pretty stark contrast from yesterday. The matches were tended to be a little bit slower, a lot more control stuff. It is just some pretty explosive stuff that's been happening in our first two matches of today, anyways.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the deck list from the second match, or the third matchup of the day, sorry. And I see some Murlocs in the Mage class in particular, so I'm excited. But I'm going to introduce our colleges. We have Moorhead taking on Robert Morris.
I'm certain I'm going to get that mixed up at some point throughout this, with the more and the more.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, it's the nature of who I am. You see Paladin banned away on both sides. That is an even Paladin. That was banned away from Robert Morris University. So, kind of sad I'm not going to get to see that one. One of the things I think is kind of cool, though, is that Paladin is really the class right now that can boast both an odd and an even archetype that are viable. I think that's really cool. To me, that's justice. That's Paladin.
Glad to hear it. I'm trying to look up some interesting facts about both of these universities, because I think that's what people have come to expect of me since I've been giving interesting facts about each of the universities.
It really has been one of the biggest talks in the last few months.
Is fun facts,
specifically when on the Fall Hearthstone Collegiate Championship series, as you peruse the internet for this.
Pretty cool. Moorhead State University in Moorhead, Kentucky, in the United States. Their team consists of Mind Games, Computer Engineering, Pop-Tart Smash, or Pop-Tart Smash, depending on how you look at it, and Kami, Computer Science. For both of those two.
Seems to be a lot of computer science and computer engineering.
Whoa!
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
I said Moorhead State University was in Moorhead, Kentucky. I lied. It's in space!
They don't even have spacesuits on! That's gotta be dangerous.
There's Robert Morris, Agent Q52, Vaxel 28G, and Whitewater. Business Administration for the bottom two, Information Security. So if you have any information you want secured, reach out to him. Agent Q52.
That's the kind of wardrobe I like. School spirit, team spirit, all the way, rep it. I want that.
Blank white wall, school jersey, nothing else.
I want a jersey that says TJ and Admirable on it, like a giant logo. I don't know what the logo's of. I don't know, probably some snacks or something, and like an anchor, I guess, because you always call me the Admiral. Maybe like the captain's tri-corner hat. But I love uniforms. Something about them, just really cool to me.
Yeah, some interesting facts that the players from Robert Morris wrote about themselves. Agent Q52, the information security major, 4th year in college, still wears flip-flops to school in the wintertime. And Robert Morris University, I believe it's in Chicago, Illinois? No, that's not true. It's in Pennsylvania. That's a completely different place. Both places, both Chicago, which it's not located in, and in Pennsylvania. Actually, there's 2 Robert Morris universities. That's a fun fact in itself.
It almost seems like I'm saying something because I'm kind of just making hand motions and agreeing with you.
Googling stuff is also one of the things that I'm pretty poor at.
Oh, I can tell.
Yeah, but I'll get that I'll get that whole fun fact situation remedied in the next coming minutes. But for now, we can talk about their deck lineups. I think that's a little bit more important for the task at hand. The Murloc Mage, I think, is going to be pretty cool. It's a deck that burst onto the scene once Giggling Inventor and Mana Worm were nerfed. Players realized that aggressive Mage still can exist because they have so much burn damage. But with Mana Worm being nerfed, Murlocs, I think, edges it out slightly. And we're going to see it just in game number 1 for both teams.
Well, this is a deck that Monsanto, a professional player from Canada, did very well with over the weekend at the tour stop here in Orange County. And I've got to be honest, when he tweeted out the deck lineup and the list that he had, he said, "This is what I brought, and nobody could stop me from doing it." or nobody stopped him from doing it, or something along those lines. And I just looked at it and I went, what in the world? No way this is going to work. But it works. That's like one of the most terrifying sights in Hearthstone right now, is seeing that little guy on turn 1.
Yeah. I mean, Frodin and I, on our podcast Talkstone, had Just Saying as a guest. And he came on the show right as Giggling Inventor was getting changed. And he said, he had tweeted out that day, and we talked about it, that Murlocs were going to be the next big thing.
It's terrifying.
It is.
Nothing's even happened yet. It's just look at it and I'm scared.
And a wise old sage once said on a Tour Stop broadcast not too long ago, there's not a better feeling than playing Gentle Megasaur on 3+ Murlocs. That wise man goes by the name of Robert Bob Nostum Matson.
It's pretty tough to land a Gentle Megasaur on that many Murlocs. You know, they tend to trade pretty aggressively. And I'd say in this matchup in particular, that's the case. When all the cards are fairly evenly matched and no player is able to get that aggressive footing and take a lead, I can see one of the cards in one of these hands that really changes that dynamic. It's a 6-mana legendary weapon that draws 3 cards at the end of every turn.
I'm sorry, Admirable, but that is a shirt.
TJ just zoned out.
I am just flabbergasted at the moment.
That thing is awesome.
I don't even know what to feel.
That's how you feel. That sound is exact the thought that's going through your head.
Small update on the fun fact situation from earlier. Robert Morris University, at least the Eagles, as these players are representing, is in fact in Illinois. There's a separate Robert Morris University that is in Pennsylvania. They're not affiliated with each other. Just a fun fact within a fun fact.
I figured there was only one person in the world named Robert Morris.
I feel like this Robert Morris is going to run away with this game because they have all the tools plus an Alaneth, and they had board initiative from turn 1.
Yeah, and they're adding another Murloc to that board. A lot of it is the attacker's initiative too. You know, you get to unlock that additional mana crystal before your opponent does, and that allows for bigger turns. Key card picked up with, I think, with Frostbolt in this mid stage. Just wipe out a Murloc and keep that board presence. But to me, this deck is just something strange and special because you're using Murloc Raider. Murloc Raider, a 1-mana 2/1 Murloc. That's it. There's no text on the card. It's very rare that I use a card that just doesn't have any text on it.
Brings me back to the old days of Chillwind Yeti. Ooh.
Perhaps.
I mean, I'm trying to look at other cards in these lineups that don't have any text on them.
I think that's the only one.
I guess Flame Elemental?
That's not a collectible card. I mean,
it's not a collectible card.
That's spawned from another card, though. You just stuck this one in your deck. You're like, 2/1 Murloc, let's go.
Yeah, I don't... There's no other card without text in any of these lineups. Not a single other card.
It's crazy to think about. How did that happen? It's just a 2/1.
All these cards have text on them.
That's some pretty good text on that one, too.
Yeah, and that will just about wrap things up.
Yeah, there's not really much coming back.
I feel like last turn, Moorhead could have said to themselves, maybe they just have a really poor hand, and we can just draw gas from here on out, remove the board, get our own Alaneth, and try and flinks and burn at their face. But this turn, Yeah, that's just not happening.
Yeah, this deck does not feature ways to come back into the game. It features ways to seize the board as quickly as possible and then snowball that out of control by delivering a sizable amount of damage.
Yeah.
When you're in this situation, I think you would need like a meteor to hit your opponent's location in order to be able to win that game. So number one game's going over to Robert Morris on that one. You take the lead, you keep it. That's Murloc Mage.
And a meteor is more likely in this case, since meteors are more likely to come from space.
There's some space theme going on inside your head right now. A lot of vast emptiness that's taking place.
My mom drew some really cool planets on the ceilings. Had those stars that you could stick on the ceiling that glue in the dark.
I was attached to the ceiling fan. It would just spin around.
That's a dangerous game.
Yeah, I know.
If I had had a ceiling fan, I probably would have played around with that a little bit. And now I regret not being able to throughout my childhood.
I'm sorry you didn't have a ceiling fan, TJ. That's
Yeah.
terrible to hear.
I lived in an area of the United States where ceiling fans were had a strict ban on them. When I was young.
And where is that, TJ? Where would that happen to be?
I don't know if any of the audience watching happened to experience the ceiling fan prohibition of the late 90s. I grew up in a city called Virginia Beach, Virginia.
No comment.
It was near a beach.
Was it?
It was, yes.
Looking at Odd Rogue versus Even Shaman in this next match. Attacker's Initiative is going to be a big talking point for pretty much the entirety of the series. It's a lot of aggression on both sides of the lineups for this one. I think that Shaman touts a pretty strong game against some of the things that Odd Rogue can really throw at it. And namely, it's the pressure that totems actually present turn after turn. When those start building up, you really got to worry about the impact of Direwolf Alpha, a Flame Tongue Totem. Just being able to hide a minion behind a taunt for a turn, you can't reach it, and then suddenly they back that up with something big, and things get out of control.
But it is a snowball effect, right? If you were just playing one thing a turn, you're not going to be able to stand up to the pressure. You need to find a way to solidify the board position right away.
Yeah, and really, the 2 4-cost minions in hand you're looking at, and then 3 of them now, really service as things that play 2 things at once. Fire Plume Phoenix sometimes can take out a minion. The Corpse Taker, it's going to have Divine Shield, which can absorb big attack. And Serenite Chain Gang is literally 2 things at once. It's 2/2/3 bodies. The cards in this deck are meant to service in that degree because you're trying to build a lead and snowball it. Now, unlike Murloc Mage, I do think that Even Shaman features a number of ways to come back into the game. It's got Merc Spark Eel, which is pretty much the reason you play Even Shaman. It's a 2-mana 2/3. It says if you only have even cost cards in your deck, Battlecry, deal 2 damage. It's a big step up from the old River Crocolisk that happens there. So, Robert Morris, their main job is to find a way to take advantage of the effects that happen when they summon minions. Whether that's going to be snowballing a board position and leveraging the damage, or whether it's going to be trying to grind more head out of resources.
Yeah. And this is a pretty tough turn. It looked like they were mousing over Night Juggler first to go for Night Juggler plus Totem. But the 1 damage from the Juggle I don't think really matters. I think I had Totem first. Evaluate. If you don't get a Taunt Totem, or if you get a Searing Totem, I don't think you're playing, or if you get Taunt Totem, you're playing Night Juggler. If you don't, I think you hold. But I actually did like the Coin Knife Juggler play if they were to pick up this Taunt Totem.
There's a lot of things I don't mind in that turn, being able to be flexible to. Even Earth and Might on the Totem would have protected it from the onboard attacks from Moorhead.
Yeah.
In that situation. Now, that's oftentimes going to change the way that they develop their board. So if you can think of, you know, pretty obvious and significant punishes to that, that's something you want to avoid. But, you know, sometimes you just got to hang on. You got to sacrifice. You got to, you know, just play totems and then look for big turns to make an impact. And here, Corpse Taker, Saranac Chain Gang, they offer abilities to really get into that. Saranac Chain Gang, you know, perhaps one of the stronger ones, but in this spot, Moorhead's going to be on 4 mana and looking at needing to dagger in this spot. So for them, they have a deadly poison to punch right through that and really, you know, put the pedal to the metal at this point and try to get this game over with.
Deadly poison, cold blood. They get Wind Fear on this Vicious Fledgling.
Yeah.
This is lights out.
It's a dangerous one to see.
Moorhead blasting off with this Vicious Fledgling.
Yeah, well, pretty mediocre options here, I think all things considered. I think I would tend to look at the Death Rattle option in this spot just to get, you know, a number of attacks on the board in the case that this is checked.
Well, there's not really a reliable way to check this. It'd be Knife Juggler, Merc Spark Eel, and Snipe it. Double Merc Spark Eel.
Yeah, this does protect it from the 1 copy of Hex.
Yeah, and that's really the only reliable way that Robert Morris would have to deal with this. Every other instance of removal requires a creative solution, so to speak.
Yeah, multi-turn setup. It's one of the reasons I want to, you know, look at that turn 2 with the coin and the totem. You know, perhaps you split that amongst, you know, a pair of 2 mana cards and toteming up on back-to-back turns as well. You know, just trying to get rid of that Divine Shield. Even that I think can be significant. All the little things really add up in these aggressive matches where it's tough to really tell how different things would have been if you had gone with a different line of play. And that's one of the reasons it's so important to be picture perfect with the way these line up. Because as it stands, Moorhead's going to make another connection with Vicious Fledgling, and that is super dangerous.
Yes, it is.
You back that up with a Tar Creeper. Maybe a little health on this. Divine Shield +1/+1. Both of those can get the job done. That Vicious Fledgling is getting awfully vicious.
Moorhead also has the Tar Creeper in hand to be able to protect this, potentially.
I'm thinking in this spot, you probably just want to go ahead and take up Knife Juggler as well. I mean, that's just such a dangerous minion to leave around for a turn. Too much potential seated in that card. And now for Robert Morris. This is not going to get prettier anytime soon.
Nope. Can you use the Earth and Might on the Tar Creeper to draw a random elemental? But just to kind of stay alive, Robert Morris kind of forced to go for this Saranac Chain Gang, block the attack from the Vicious Fledgling. Hope that they can follow that up with a Fire-Proof Phoenix that's starting to kill it off.
Taunt Totem's so vital in this situation because Moorhead had another copy of Deadly Poison in hand. They were going to chew right through this situation and really keep that test to Robert Morris. But, you know, now it's looking like this Vicious Fledgling might get taken out.
Blinkfox can say otherwise. Huh.
So give all your minions Death Rattle, return it to your hand?
Yes. Spirit Echo.
You are fighting card advantage to some degree in this matchup, but it is really a battle for the board. The player who seizes the board is the one who dictates a ton of the value that takes place in this one. That is such a slow card for Moorhead that, you know, they might just be, you know, feel like they need to use it here because Tar Creeper is just such a valuable minion to be able to return to hand. So I like the call here, but now for Robert Morris, suddenly looking like a door's open.
Yeah, it's going to be really expensive for Moorhead to try and replay all these minions. And the Flamestone Totem plus the Juggle. Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, Merc Spark Eel can now wipe that out. No attacks necessary. That's a big board swing that just happened. lot of cards in Moorhead's hand, but, you know, Robert Morris, they're not lacking anything by any means.
Ooh. If they were going to trade that Serenade Chain Gang, I think they'd trade first, and that's more damage to face over time. But at the end of the day, what they're trying to do there is pretty much just eliminate the board position.
Yeah.
And still a lot of tools from Moorhead. Even though this is a board swing from Robert Morris, one of the things that even Shaman can struggle with is card economy. Is picking up resources once you've expended all of your resources. And that's why we see things like the Nimbus.
Menacing Nimbus.
Yes. I don't like to refer to him as Menacing Nimbus. I think that's offensive to Mr. Nimbus there.
That actually also is just not in the deck.
It's not in the deck, but I'm saying this is how even Shamans usually do it.
They land on that card anyway. You
Yeah.
need stuff.
Earthen Might's also a way to gain a little bit more resources if you're to use it on an elemental. And Hagatha is kind of that end game resource generator that can pack a punch. Even Shaman, kind of a weird deck. Not an aggro deck. I would even more so call it an anti-aggro deck before I call it an aggro deck because of how it floods the board and can make swing turns like this one with a lot of battle cries that deal damage. More of a mid-range style deck, as I think most even decks fall into.
Ooh. That is a sizable pickup as well. Fire Elemental, I think one of the reasons that even Shaman has a strong functioning place is just that turn after turn, that advantage keeps compounding, and you look down and you go, God, they just have so much big stuff. I mean, you look at the top end, even Shaman decks, 2 Sea Giants, Lich King, Calibos, Hagatha, Alakir, 2 Fire Elementals, Argent Commander,
Vicious Scalehide.
Gen Greymane himself. Vicious Scalehide, definitely the low end and seated almost strictly in utility for the Corpse Taker package that's there. But I see your point, TJ. This deck, it just doesn't run out of gas that easily. It runs out of options a lot, but it doesn't run out of gas. It's just, it's gonna do the thing it's gonna do. Play some big stuff.
The longer the game goes, the easier it becomes to play that big stuff.
It's powerful, too.
Gonna unleash a fun fact here. Vaxel 289, the business administration major for Robert Morris University, under interests outside of video games, put yelling at people.
For Moorhead State University, fun fact, under interesting fact or story about yourself, there's nothing listed by the 3 of them.
Nope. They're down to business. When you're in space, you don't have time for interesting facts.
Calamos, such a major draw in this situation.
And it hurts to trade in a 6-5 to a 5-2, but
when it's a Vicious Fledgling, it feels good.
Yeah. I traded 12-5 into a 5-2 Vicious Fledgling.
Even if my opponent was at 6.
And I didn't realize. That is the worst.
Oh, the irony.
And Moorhead's just strictly business. There was no reaction from that Totemic Might. These Blink Foxes not delivering when they needed to.
I believe it's fully active. All modes in effect on Corpse Taker. Iron Beak out on the head for Moorhead, but not much else. And you're going to need a lot else if you're going to take care of this. Captain Calamos has come down, and he means business. 7 a turn is on its way. SI7 agent not going to be any help. I don't believe either. And Robert Morris able to turn the game back around. Moorhead couldn't find some big health buffs on those Vicious Fledgling connections to really protect it for, just one more turn perhaps.
So many options.
And get that snowball effect.
This is going to be a 2-0 for Robert Morris.
Get Totemic Knight to activate the combo.
Ooh, clutch. Could have been almost anything else. And probably better suited.
I'd say so.
I don't even know what you take out here.
This guy's toast.
I guess the highest attack elemental, but Calamos is still on the board. If they're trying to maybe take off Earth and Might value.
Yeah, 13, 14, 15 damage. That's enough. Robert Morris. Debating the style there. You're like yeah, should we
style on him?
It.
Nah. Even pick up just more gas from the Earth and Might.
Deciding on it in the end.
Spell powered up. Flame Geyser, 3 additional damage. Robert Morris, 2-0 lead. Looking unstoppable.
As we catch a little theatrical display of what's possible with Even Shaman towards the end there. That deck packs a punch when it comes to continuing to fight and trying to keep the game close.
Yeah.
If that game is close, there's always that one turn where Even Shaman can turn it all back around. The key is to get so far ahead of that deck that you take away as many of those options as you possibly can.
Yeah. And as was the same with yesterday's final match of the day, both these schools are currently sitting at a 3-1 match record over the course of the last 4 weeks of the Swiss rounds, which means that this doesn't secure them a top spot if they were to close out this series for either of these schools. But it does get them one step closer. It means that out of the final 2 weeks of play for this first round of Swiss, first 7 rounds of Swiss, rather, they only have to win 1 more of those matches in order to qualify for that next phase.
Such a good feeling to have. Just breathing room at that point. You're not on the chopping block. You're not like, if we lose 1 more, that's it. Just nice to have that feeling.
Yeah.
A lot of pressure off your shoulders in that situation. When you got pressure off your shoulders, you know what that means, TJ.
You got pressure off your knees. Good posture, the key to success. That's the lesson we've all learned here today. Robert Morris, final deck. Death Rattle Hunter.
I believe this deck is often going to struggle to Murloc Mage. You know, sort of the way that I'm looking at this matchup is there's a significant amount of burn on Moorhead's side. You know, Mage does have 2 copies of Fireball, 2 copies of Frostbolt. And if they get out to an early lead, they are not looking to attack minions. They're looking to attack face. And so Robert Morris has come with a bit of a different build than the traditional Death Rattle Hunters that you see in a lot of situations. 2 copies of Animal Companion added to the deck to just provide a little bit more leverage on turn 3. You know, so often I play this deck and I find myself, you know, just playing a Gluttonous Ooze or playing a Terror Scale Stalker just to try to get anything on board. Why not use Animal Companion?
Murloc Raider. No text. Clocking him for 2.
It's a weird sight to behold, but this is strangely effective.
Hunter's Mark this, Robert Morris.
Everything's just pre-Hunter's marked.
Ooh, Spider Bomb going to be played. Trying to preemptively get some board tension going on.
You got to fight it off somehow. I mean, there's a lot of punishes here on Moorhead's side. You know, if they dropped a Murloc War Leader, or say they had a Cold Light Seer in the situation that they could use, Spider Bomb at least threatens to eliminate some of the board position in that instance. And Moorhead looks like they're going to respect that.
Going to be able to discover another Murloc here. 2 great options with Tidecaller and Rock
Dread Scale Knight. Yeah, I agree. 1/1 lifesteal Murloc.
They're going to go with Tidecaller. Having the cheaper options a lot of times can be better. You kind of just want to flood the board, especially with a Gentle Megasaur in hand. Ooh, Huffer.
Takes out a minion at least.
It does, yeah. That's
but you're looking to equalize the board position or find a way to take advantage of it. This was not it, and suddenly things. God, why is Murloc Tidecaller so scary? Every time that minion's on board, I start sweating a little bit.
Yeah, and Howmaster Shaw.
Looking like a play the role of Twilight Drake in the days of yore. 3/6 taunt is what they're hoping. Robert Morris is, you know, hoping this will look like. Honestly, they're probably hoping that Moorhead just ignores it and that they can take a massive advantage of the game by Houndmaster Shaw still being there. But in the event that your opponent doesn't ignore it, it is 3-6, so a lot has to be sunk into it to take care of it.
Yeah, and so Moorhead going to try and think this over. Second Cold Light Seer actually allows them a pretty decent trade over the Houndmaster Shaw while still preserving their board. But it looks like they're going to go with Gentle Megasaur instead.
Go big or go home.
Poisonous. I guess Divine Shield works better in this scenario because you protect that Murloc Tidecaller, and this board is out of control.
Yeah. This is kind of just what Death Rattle Hunter struggles to. A wide board state where you got to kill a lot of things in order to come back. It just doesn't happen with this deck.
I mean, Death Rattle Hunter is one of the biggest reasons I think that Murloc Mage made a big surge in the metagame is because it preys on decks like this, and Death Rattle Hunter is so popular right now. Often is considered one of the best decks in the game. And that's 4 extra damage from the Blue Gill Warrior.
That is enough.
Yes.
That is more than enough.
I don't even need to count it. I don't think Moorhead even needs to count it anyway. Even if it's not lethal, I'm still doing all of those things this turn.
Yep. Same. Moorhead puts a point on the board. We're going to game 4. Don't blink. Murloc Mage can be a very quick deck. A turn 6 victory for Moorhead in this one. I looked a lot better in the other 2 games. For Moorhead, anyway.
Sure did.
That's the kind of matchup you're looking for with Murloc Mage. Something that's just kind of slow and plays some good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, even it seems like their other matchups should be pretty reasonable against the Death Rattle Hunter as well. Something that we didn't really talk about at the beginning, but something that seems like it's a similar story thread of almost every match that we've seen. One weak point in the lineup. Oftentimes that weak point is Death Rattle Hunter. Oftentimes the decks on the other side are aggressive. Can it find a win with 3 chances to beat 3 aggro decks?
Well, it's not just 3 aggro decks. You know, I am looking at a Control Warlock deck.
Oh, I thought it was Cube.
On Moorhead's side.
It is
a Cube Warlock deck.
I think Cube Warlock is actually pretty good.
Against Death Rattle Hunter?
I think so.
I think it's better than Control Warlock.
It's definitely better than Control Warlock.
But I don't know if I'd call it
maybe not as good as Zoo Warlock, but it's interesting. And that's why I like it. You know, if you had asked me 4 months ago, TJ, what do you think are... No. When were the changes? 6 months ago?
Says like he went from 5 mana to 6 mana.
If you ask... it, think the deck's all right, indifferent about it. But if you said today to me right now, TJ, what do you think of Cube Warlock?
TJ, what do you think of Cube Warlock?
Well, Admirable, I'll tell you. I love casting the deck now because it just feels like the power level is where it should be. Sometimes it comes out in the metagame and it destroys, as was evident by some players' run through the playoffs in the previous season.
Or by Fino, who won the tour stop recently.
Or by Fino, who won a tour stop last week.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, it just fits into that metagame. It's not the end-all, be-all of decks. It's just good when it's good. And that's what I like to see because it does cool stuff.
Well, you're going to have to hold your horses on that one. It's Odd Rogue versus the Death Rattle Hunter. Moorhead going to look out to get off to a blistering start and try to punish Robert Morris in the same fashion that they did in the previous game. A little bit less burn available, or I guess different burn. Is available for Moorhead. It's much more suited to minion damage. You don't just have fireballs, just flying out of your hands dealing 6 points of damage. You got to have a minion connection at some step of the way. So for Robert Morris, Spider Bomb's going to be used in a similar fashion, I think, than they were last time. You get them on the board and just try to threaten the position your opponent has. One of the big turns of this one is Witchwood Grizzly on Robert Morris' side. If they're able to land a high health Witchwood Grizzly and it doesn't get taken care of by Moorhead right away, that is probably one of the most dangerous positions you can be in as Odd Rogue.
Yeah. I would agree, but for an opening hand, this is really good for Moorhead because Vicious Fledgling, if you can coin it out, is one of the hardest cards to deal with from the side of the Death Rattle Hunter. It lands before the Flanking Strike, it lands before Spider Bomb plus Play Dead, and a lot of times you can get at least 1 face attack, 2 with Wind Fury, if you're able to coin that out and put on the pressure. And that's what the Hunter deck struggles with, is early pressure that snowballs out of control. And
yeah,
bada bing, bada boom, that's what the Vicious Fledgling does.
you just develop an accent all of a sudden for that?
Absolutely not.
Okay, case closed. Coin the Vicious Fledgling, I think, is absolutely the right call in this spot for Moorhead. You need to put Robert Morris to the test, and you need to do it often. As soon as they fail that test, that's when things get nuts. Moorhead going to be faced with a decision this turn. I feel like I have seen this come up quite a bit.
Yeah, if we just think right back to the fall championship for the Hearthstone Championship Tour, which we saw not long ago. I believe it was, what was it, Tyler versus...
+1/+1 over can't be targeted. Tyler versus Tincho.
Tincho, that's correct.
Yeah,
Tincho took the 50-50 that allows Vicious Fledgling to live against the Spider Bomb. Lost it.
Yeah, but that was a good move from Tincho in that spot. If he had succeeded with that 50-50, the game had basically ended. And if he failed it, honestly, just not in that bad a spot. It does look kind of bad, but it's really not that bad. I love the move that he made, and I've spoken a lot with professional players about this, and many are in agreement with him. Many are in stark disagreement with that play as well. But when faced with the opportunity to have a Vicious Fledgling connect again, I'm going to take that basically every single time. Now here, Moorhead's trying to do it in a different way. It's by placing a lot of minions on board, so that way when the death rattle from Spider Bomb happens, there's so many options for it to hit that Moorhead's hoping it connects with one of the insignificant small minions on board. Here, though, there's an ability to use Play Dead, and there's an ability to magnetic a second Spider Bomb onto it. So there is no chance this Vicious Fledgling is attacking again.
It's actually a full clear if Robert Morris wants to take it. They can magnetic the Spider Bomb to the Spider Bomb, and then trade it into the Vicious Fledgling. Both death rattles will go off. It'll clear the other two minions. Am I missing something, or is that correct?
That looked correct to me.
So if that's the case, that play dead is wasted.
This was a blunder from Robert Morris's side.
Because both death rattles activate, because that's 2 Spider Bombs in 1.
Yes, it is.
So that play dead was just used.
That... I don't know what happened. That's probably just, you talk through the play, you get really excited about it, and then something happens and you click something and you go, wait a minute. We did that too fast.
Yeah.
This was a significant error on the side of Robert Morris. This Vicious Fledgling is going to connect again. Perhaps they're using this actually to invest into a bigger board clear on the following turn, like put pressure on Moorhead's development in this situation. Kind of interesting if I think about it that way. I don't think that that's the right play.
I don't think that's the right play, because then you have a play dead in hand, a clear board. You're playing Witchwood Grizzly next turn on whatever they decide to redevelop on turn 4.
Yeah, there's no option for Vilespine in that situation.
No option. Yeah,
and with the play dead in your hand, a Carnivorous Cube means you're duplicating those Witchwood Grizzlies.
Yeah,
in that spot. So this is, potentially very costly. It is, once again, a magnetic Spider Bomb right now, though, so that Death Rattle right now kills 2 opposing minions at random in this spot. So it is still leveraging a sizable amount of threat to the development on Moorhead's side.
But it is a risk, because Vicious Fledgling, they may have not... If this had gotten Stealth or Wind Fury Stealth, and Moorhead just had not played a minion that Robert Morris could trade into, they'd be just dead. Pretty much just dead.
No development on Moorhead's side.
And Terror Skill Stalker drawn.
Now, in Moorhead's spot, honestly, if I'm facing down 2 Spider Bombs here, I feel like I'm willing to sacrifice a Vicious Fledgling.
Yeah, and I think Robert Morris just now realizing, as they were trying to attack a minion, that they get both death rattles from the Spider Bomb.
That's possible, too. It is like a pretty rare interaction that you actually get 2 Spider Bombs to stack on one another.
Yeah. I suppose.
If you've just never encountered it before, how would you know that?
Sure.
That's really my big question. But for Moorhead there, I think that I was really in favor of just sacrificing the board position they had and redeveloping the almost identical board position. They had another Vicious Fledgling in their hand with a Sousy deckhand. They chose to connect, or attempt to connect, with the Vicious Fledgling instead. And, it's not the same position anymore. It's checked right away.
And this play also, the Henchclan Thug would have not matched up as a trade against the Terrascale Stalker.
Yeah. I'd be curious, maybe you're trying to hope that Robert Morris stumbles for a turn.
And then try and stick the Henchclan Thug afterwards. But
yeah, but I like trying to get the snowball going immediately. Try to force your opponent to stumble rather than exhaust a resource to make that happen.
Because it's not really much of a difference, because you won't even know if they didn't have a way to deal with the Henchclan Thug with this play.
Yeah.
Because it just trades the 3-3 into the 3-3 anyway.
Exactly.
So you're getting 0 information. You're reducing the chance that you get a snowball. You're just giving up a trade on board to one of your most important minions in the Vicious Fledgling. It's a weird game that's admirable.
It's a
and you want to know why? Because it's
one.
in space! Space!
Where everything echoes! 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 Spoiler alert, I'm the one doing those echoes.
Echoes don't exist in space because nothing exists in space. But everything exists in space.
Well, I was about to say there's plenty that exists in space. That's, sort of the nature of the universe.
It's the space paradox.
It's a classic. And Robert Morris, their tools in the mid game are quite strong, and Moorhead has had, some pretty weak-looking turns come out of this game. And so when you end up having the cards go even, however that's going to happen, I think it tends to favor the Death Rattle Hunter because the endgame cards are just very powerful on Robert Morris's side.
Yeah, there's a chance that Robert Morris kind of draws dead for a turn or two. But the question is that enough for Moorhead to capitalize? And at the moment, I don't think so. They have a board clear here, but it uses a very key resource in Vilespine Slayer. And Robert Morris currently has 2 key targets for the Vilespine Slayer in the deck with both Charged Devilsaur and Witchwood Grizzly.
Yeah, and this is like more of a forced hand on the side of Moorhead here. I mean, the life is dwindling. They're running out of resources themselves. They just got to hope that Robert Morris stumbles, and it's just not looking like it's going to happen this game. That's a Charged Devilsaur, a Witchwood Grizzly, and a Candle Shot with a Hunter's Mark in hand. I don't know how Moorhead sticks a minion into the board for the rest of this game, really.
I don't think they do. Leroy, they're still 11 damage off. Well, 9 damage if you count the dagger up.
Yeah.
And if you save the Leroy, you're just going to die because you're sharing out a 7 damage minion on board.
Yeah. So
they just have to Leroy the Charged Devilsaur here.
I wonder.
Yeah, I can't really think of anything else. If you don't Leroy it, it's going to Leroy you.
So my mom always told me.
Sometimes just ain't enough Leroys. Grizzled veteran of defense. 10 health on that taunt. We used to play with Senjin Shieldmaster back in the day.
This has a lot more health than that. Most of the time. Sometimes it's a 3-3, though.
Oof.
I will silence their scream.
No, you won't.
Well played.
All right.
Sorry, Baku.
2 out of 3 to end the game on the spot. Huffer's going to do it. Robert Morris closes out the Odd Rogue. Takes the series 3-1 over Moorhead.
Not personally an approver of dabs, as they had in that one. I personally am opposed to dabs, but I respect their right to do so.
That was not a dab. They're eagles.
Spreading their wings.
Yes, exactly.
That's how eagles take flight.
With both wings on one side. That's right. But I thought the Death Rattle Hunter was going to be a weak point, but they squeeze a win through. I mean, when you have 3 opportunities, even if you have 3 unfavorable matchups, still likely to take a win overall in the series. And I think the Cube Warlock, maybe not even a favorable on paper.
Yeah, Death Rattle Hunter has its unfavorable spots, but it always has a chance to climb back into it. A lot of strong utility tools. If they all show up in the right time, Death Rattle Hunter looks like sometimes an unstoppable deck. In that game, it was a mishmash of resources kind of running into each other, and at the end of the day, the cards of Death Rattle Hunter are just more powerful than the endgame cards in Odd Rogue.
Yeah, that's right. And an interesting strategy from them, we got to see 2 Murloc mages in this matchup.
Go head to head.
Go head to head. That's, I don't know. That's just
Who was the true Murloc war leader?
Murloc Mage at the very beginning. I don't even know if it was Witchwood or which expansion it was, but it was one of the most dominant decks on ladder for a time when the meta was slowed down.
It was actually a 2014 World Champion Firebat who convinced one of his friends to play it as a joke. In his head, it was a joke. His friend was genuinely convinced it was good, and then started performing pretty well with it.
Yeah, but now it's kind of come full circle with the Mana Worm change. But enough blabber from us. Looks like we have the guys from Robert Morris on the line for an interview. Hey guys, can you hear me?
Hey, we can hear you.
Hello, congratulations on the match. And of course, the first question that I ask every school that wins is, how'd you guys meet each other? How'd you guys get started participating in the Collegiate Championship?
Starts with Darian. Darian came to RMU first, and both met Caesar my freshman year, and we got into the eSport program, and Hearthstone was the game we all had in common.
That's pretty cool. I know that Robert Morris has a pretty robust esports program. Is that a pretty cool thing to have at a university? Is an organization that supports esports so well?
Yeah, it's probably one of the best things about esports. To be honest, before I came to Robert Morris, I wasn't really, and I was surprised how much Robert Morris was willing to support sports. In fact, we're sitting here with matching. I don't thank Robert Morris for that.
Yeah, it's pretty sick. It took me a while to even just see the esports underneath, but I know I've seen a bunch of other teams, even across other games and other esports that have RMU teams. There's another question that I need to ask. After you won in game number 4, one of you performed an unspeakable act. And I want you to answer for your crimes right here on broadcast. Who dabbed?
Honestly, I think we all did, but if you really want to make sure, just there you go, one more for you.
oh my goodness. We even tried to make excuses for you and said that must be what Robert Morris University Eagles do as they're
spreading their wings.
You're spreading your Eagles' wings.
Our director told us to spread our wings if we won, and that's the best way I know how.
All right, so it wasn't a dab. We've got confirmation here. It was them spreading their Eagles' wings. But you guys are now 4-1, which means one more win. You guys are through to the next phase. Could you tell me right now your secrets going into next week to try and secure your win? Just unveil them all. You guys aren't live on broadcast or anything. You can send me deck codes as well. Tweet at me.
The first, just if you don't lose, you win, and then as long as you win, actually the best strategy.
Wow,
I never thought about it that way before.
You heard it here first. Robert Morris University secrets unveiled live here. But thanks so much, guys. Congratulations on your win, and go dab somewhere else.
Wait, no problem. Wait, we go.
Thanks, guys. See ya.
You said the literal exact opposite of what they said. They told you they dabbed, and you said, that's right, they didn't dab.
I was trying to cover up for him, so, because there is such a thing as the esports dab curse.
Well, that's just a dab curse in general. I mean, yes, it exists in esports, but that's pretty much just a real thing.
Yeah, but
it's tough to win if you dab.
There's been many cases of players, specifically in Hearthstone, who when they walk out onto a stage, they dab and then they proceed to lose their next match. So hopefully that curse does not continue for Robert Morris. They seem like a great bunch of guys.
Yeah.
Like the decks that they brought. Actually, just like the Murloc Mage. The other one's indifferent about, but the Murloc Mage was cool.
Kind of like that deck. I'm still weirded out by the Murloc Raider. A no text card.
Well, you need a
playable.
You need a replacement for Mana Worm, and Murloc Raider deals 2 damage.
Yeah,
but
made it 2-1. Right there with it.
We're done for the week. That's admirable, as we can see what we've experienced over the past couple of days. We started yesterday with the South and the West regions. Rice University, Reed College, and the University of California, Santa Cruz took victories. And then today we saw Penn State, Queens University, and Robert Morris all improve their standings. We got to see some teams qualify to the next phase with their 5th match win. We got to see some players play some interesting lineups of decks. We got to see a wide variety of deck lists, and I thought it was cool.
Yeah, it's just always a lot of fun to watch. You know, get great diversity in the collegiate championships. with Hearthstone and TESPA, and it's always just a pleasure to watch. You know, you get seeing play from players that they're not seasoned professional players like on the Hearthstone Championship Tour. Guys that are going to every single tournament around the globe. These are full-time students who are competing for a chance at some glory and some prize and some pride for their school.
That's right, and of course, none of this would be possible without our awesome sponsor, Aces Republic of Gamers. Allows us to, me and Admirable, to come up here, have some fun, you guys to experience some collegiate action, and of course, it allows me to Google some particularly fun facts for you all live on the broadcast, which I enjoyed, and I hope you enjoyed, but I'm sure you didn't. But Admirable, I think we do have a question from Twitter. Let's see what this question is. If you could add a new emote to the game, what would it be and why? From Eyes Wide Hoppin' on Twitter.
I'm not going to give you a why. I'm just going to tell you what it is. Would somebody shut that TJ up? What would you add?
I'll stay thematic and not a dab. No, don't go there. It would probably be fun fact. You press him and he says a fun fact about himself or herself.
Oh, I'd like that. Like a little backstory on the Khadgar, for instance.
Yeah, like a lore button, I guess.
I'm in favor of a lore button. Big fan.
Cool. Glad to hear that's Admirable.
What am I supposed to say? But the lore button, come on.
But Admirable,
it's cool.
I believe that means we are done for the week.
Indeed.
I want to give you the moment to give your final thoughts. Anything that excited you particularly about this week? Anything that you'd like to tell these wonderful viewers before we send them off on their way?
It's just a good bit of nostalgia for me here. You know, TJ and I got our start casting together in TESPA, and it's been a couple years since then. But you know, it's a pleasure to be back here and really watching it. You know, seeing some of the players that got their start in TESPA, you know, a few of them breaking through to the professional scene, and even picking up some big wins there, as recent as the Fall Championships, where Language Hacker won the entire thing. It's just really cool to see, and you know, here this weekend, we might have been seeing the exact same thing happen in some of these competitions that took place.
Yeah, really cool. I think nostalgia for me as well, and like you said, maybe seeing some of the names that we saw here today competing on the big circuit in HGT in the next coming years. But that's going to do it from us here today. We'll return next week, same time, same place, for more collegiate action. We'll see you then.